The pungent stench of smoke and burning flesh chokes the air of a now ruined hamlet just across the border between Nirmathas and Malthun. Dozens of armored creatures of various shapes and sizes stomp through the nearby expanse of flat farmland, setting fire to anything not worth looting or killing. What had once been a communal barn now smolders in a charred heap. Blackened limbs protrude from underneath bits of the burning debris. Some distance away, two figures stand underneath a tense canopy.
I will ask once more. Did any survivors escape this time?
No, General. The attack was swift and unexpected. None made it more than 50 yards from the furthest field. There is no chance that word of our advance will spread.
Good. See that it stays that way. I'd rather not see a repeat of the mistakes made at Phaendar.
General Azersi casts a sharp glare at Lieutenant Scabviston.
Now that we have finally won over the rest of the monster regiments, and with most of their forces tied up at Kraggodan and Fort Ramgate, Malthun is virtually undefended.
And by the time they realize this, we will be knocking at the gates of Kennerit.
General Azersi surveys her forces.
Soon, we will have a place to call our own. A home. One the humans and dwarves will not be able to steal. Where all so-called monsters can gather in peace. Can you see it, Lieutenant?
Lieutenant Scabviston fakes a smile, though it looks more like a grimace.
Of course, General. All the Iron Fang Legion eagerly awaits such a pleasant place.
Xerxes' hand instinctively moves to feel the decade-old wound at her abdomen. The scar throbs slightly.
I have seen enough. Finish your tasks here and return to Phaendar. We have heard too little about the fugitives of Phaendar. Their lack of activity concerns me.
Perhaps they met their end at the hands of that mercenary, Kahal. He seemed formidable.
Xerxes shakes her head.
No, they live. Zenithura has told me that much. Her simulacrum was destroyed some time ago. They're likely gathering information that I had been too rushed to properly conceal. Be prepared, Lieutenant. Do not assume the stalemate at Kraggodan will remain stagnant forever. We must finish our campaign here quickly. Do not let down your guard, just because our advance into Malthun has been effortless thus far.
Of course, General. I will finish giving orders and return by tomorrow. My forces will remain alert.
With that, Scabviston salutes Azersi, who nods in approval before walking out from under the tent towards a small onyx black tower and disappearing into its open archway. And with that, welcome back everyone to Iron Fang Invasion. We are beginning Book 5. We are now on the final third of the campaign. Last session, you guys had cleared out, finally, the Reliquary of Ascension in Kraggodan's Vault Way at the behest of the Even-Handed Synod, specifically Prince Gorm Greathammer. Over the course of your mission, you discovered the truth behind what led to the conflict between Kraggodan and Malthun, as well as information about the ancient artifact used by Kraggodan himself in his quest for Sky, known as the Onyx Key. You defeated the ghost of the Iron Fang Legion's former spymaster, the Medusa Elachnida, and unpetrified a human man who turned out to be Kieran's missing brother, Raiden Taralia. After hearing his story, Kieran and Jessup came up with a plan for him to escape before his presence could further complicate the delicate political situation in Kraggodan. You had hoped to question Elachnida's corpse, but her spirit resisted your spells, and hoping to prevent her rejuvenation, you destroyed the petrified hobgoblin and Gug, and then unpetrified the final victim, a dwarven woman named Belichal, who had been sent by the Synod as part of Kraggodan's original investigation team. And so, having completed your mission, you returned to give your report to the Synod the next morning. So, going back into the campaign here proper, are there any details you, as a party, wish to embellish or conceal from your report to the Synod. If not, we can skip the actual report, because since it would basically just be repeating what I just recapped. But if there's any details you wanted to alter, just let me know.
Not from Gideon's part. He'll give an honest report.
Yeah, not from Oran.
Jessup's good.
Then I guess we will assume that you guys basically just told it how it was. And so you stand in the office of Prince Gorm Greathammer, accompanied by Royal Archivist Kerberton Lightbrand and Exemplar Thramira Greathammer. After taking several moments to digest the details of your report, Prince Gorm is the first to speak.
You've been through quite the ordeal. I apologize that you had to suffer on behalf of Kraggodan, but clearly no one else could have faced such trials and returned alive. Without a doubt, the evidence indicates that Molthun has been framed. I wish you had left the petrified statues alone, especially that of the hobgoblin, but I do understand the importance of preventing that ghost's rejuvenation. My sister and her followers will look into this matter immediately. Prince Gorm nods to his sister, Thramira, who promptly nods back and then exits the office. My only concern now is the man who managed to trick you and disappear. Given your exceptional abilities, his skill to pull off such a feat is truly frightening. His motivations and affiliations clearly are unknown. He could be a spy for the Legion or just a piece of evidence left behind to further implicate a human nation. Gorm rubs his eyes and sighs. For now, I will inform Kraggodan's defenders to keep their eye out for suspicious activity. Otherwise, you have accomplished your task flawlessly. I will see to it that you are rewarded for your services. The remaining work falls to myself and the even-handed Synod to untangle this web of political misunderstanding. Have you any further comments? And he addresses the four of you.
How will you be handling the Molthuni siege now that you know that they were framed?
That will take some time for us to discuss at the Synod the next time we meet, probably tomorrow early. I would like to expedite a ceasefire. I don't know how receptive Molthun will be, but it seems that Kraggodan may have been mostly at fault in this political situation. So I'm hoping that perhaps we can get a meeting with their general and talk things out some.
Well, don't be too hard on yourself. There were some devious hands at work.
Yes, clearly.
Well, and we talked to the one person up on the surface. What was his name again?
Are you talking about Captain Renso?
Yes. Yeah, we talked to Captain Renso, and from what he knows of the general of the other side, he seems to be an honorable man, so hopefully he will be receptive to negotiation.
Yes, I have heard that much as well. I hope that is true. I have not met with him myself, but if he is a man of honor, then I think we should be able to hash things out relatively well.
Well, if there's anything that we can do to assist, just let us know.
Absolutely. You have done plenty for Kraggodan, but your willingness to help us further is much appreciated. Well, if that is all, then the four of you are free to stay in Kraggodan as long as you'd like. Kerberton has much to investigate about this Onyx Key. Perhaps he can find a clue to guide your next steps against the Legion. You are free to assist him if you wish. Please let me or my sister know if you require anything.
Much appreciated. You've been very hospitable so far, and if we have some time, then maybe we can make use of furthering your economy here. Maybe stocking up on provisions before we decide on where we have to go next.
I'm sure the merchants would be more than happy to have that happen. Again, I do thank you all. And with that, he bows, and so does Kerberton. And they let you leave the office for now. They have plenty of tasks to handle. So, pretty much at this point, the four of you have some downtime in Kraggodan. And I don't think I mentioned this last session, but having completed Book 4 and beating the Medusa Spymaster Ghost, you all leveled up to level 14.
Yay!
Yeah.
Hooray!
Oh boy!
Go us!
I know that Brandon and Sarah have looked a little bit into what they were going to level up. I don't know if Josh or Justin had time to look into that or not, but
I did.
I leveled.
I leveled.
okay.
We're good.
So if you guys would like, we can go down the row here, and I guess as we talk about what you guys got, you can roll your hit points for the level. So the first one on my screen is Sarah with Kieran.
So, I took another level in Dragon Disciple, so I'm now a 5th level sorcerer, a 9th level Dragon Disciple. So one more level
Nice.
until I've maxed out on that.
Nice.
Maxing the prestige class will be so cool.
I know, I'm pretty excited about it. And the thing I get at 14th level is I get wings. That's literally the only thing that I get at this level. I don't get any more spells. I don't get any more base attack bonus. Oh, I do get fortitude and will save, I think. But yeah, so my wings. So basically, the wings are part of the Draconic bloodline, but Dragon Disciple lets you get them a little bit earlier. So reading off of the Draconic bloodline, technically at 15th level, it says leathery dragon wings grow from your back as a standard action, giving you a fly speed of 60 feet with average maneuverability. You can dismiss the wings as a free action. So basically, I could just have wings like all the time.
I was just saying, how long do they last? That didn't mention a duration.
No. So I think it's just a standard action to grow them, and then I could just have them. Although that might be a little unnerving, just walking through town with like dragon wings. But
No, that's
It'd be
cool.
good.
Cool if you could attack with them. That'd be neat.
yeah, I don't get a wing attack that I know
I
of.
was just say you don't get wings because yeah, interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
get wing attacks when you're in dragon form via the spell or the other ability, but
Yeah.
But the physical wings, they don't grant you the natural attack.
correct.
Yeah, no, unfortunately. But I can fly better. So
I was gonna say it means you don't need to use your spell slots for fly anymore.
And
so
its
that's
average
cool.
maneuverability is pretty good.
yeah, but a little bummed because, like I said, I literally get nothing else. Like,
yeah, that's all you
we
get,
don't-
I bet.
we don't get a
Yeah.
feed at this level. Like I got a fort save bonus, a will save bonus, and I got
It's
wings.
wings.
That's it.
Are they
so
blue?
They probably are. Well, this is leathery.
Ironically,
I wonder
they're
if they're.
pink. It's a cotton
Hot
candy
pink.
dragon.
It's weird. She's a cotton candy dragon.
they can be bluish. It's a fantasy world, Sarah. The leather can be blue.
So I can roll hit points, which I would imagine I was down to 31 hit points, so I'm assuming that I can just go back up to full because we
Yeah,
will...
a number of days will be passing here as you guys are waiting for Carpenter to research and as you buy things and, all the downtime stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. Cool. So I have a 8 and 18 con, so this will be a D12 plus 18.
No.
I mean, plus 4.
No, goodness, no.
Trying to get that past you. I am rolling a D20. D12 plus 4. 3. So do I re-roll
I
that?
believe... So D6s don't reroll, D8s reroll 1s, D10s reroll 1s and 2s, D12s do 1s, 2s, and 3s. So yes.
Okay, so I'll just roll a D12. 11. I will
Figures.
take So that gives me
Figures.
15 hit points. I'm now up to a max of 162.
And are you putting your favorite class bonus into like a skill rank or another hit point?
I
Or-
don't get that, so...
Oh,
I
that's
won't
right,
be
because
doing
prestige.
that.
That's right.
Yeah. Nope, I will not be doing even that. I literally just get wings. So
That is right.
that is my level 14 stuff. Oh, and I do get skill ranks, but that's not important.
We have a bard. I mean, what's the point of us even having skill rank?
Right. Exactly. Although, I don't know.
Guy just does everything for us.
Yeah, so who knows? I might put it into spellcraft so that I can continue to fail those rolls,
I mean, my knowledges are mid-teens for the most part. And they only
Pretty
have
good.
up to 1, 2, and 3 ranks in there. So mostly now, if they're higher DCs, probably aiding is something that I would rather do.
Yeah, that is something that I do recall us noticing last book was that some of the knowledge checks were a bit hard for you guys to hit.
Well, I think that plus some of the things that we had revolved around how many ranks you had in knowledges, which even though mine were mid-teens, my ranks were only 1.
Yes, the library research mechanics built off of ranks, yes.
Yes, so I sucked.
All right, well, Kieran, that is cool. A nice roll for HP. Always love to see that. Next up on my little list here, I have Justin with Oran.
Yay! So I got something kind of cool at level 14. So I think I get access to my third boon, which is cool. As part of my deific obedience. Is that right? Did I?
Because of your archetype?
Yes.
Yeah, so at 14th level, you gain the third boon, yeah.
Yeah. So I got that, which is cool because it's called Hammer Fist Ally. So I actually get to summon, or I can summon once a day, a stone golem construct to fight for me for 1 minute per hit die that I have. And yeah, I looked up the stat block for him. He's kind of cool. He's very similar to the elemental that I summon. Like he does slam attacks and stuff like that. So I got access to that, which is cool. Base attack bonus went up, and I get 1 additional level 7 spell and 1 additional level 6 spell.
Nice.
Haven't picked what I'm going to use for it. Maybe I'll just take 2 uses of destruction. So haven't picked yet, but yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, as a prepared caster, clerics, once you start getting more spell slots, you get a lot of versatility there. So
yeah. I'll have to read through all the level 7 spells and see if there's anything different I want to take.
I just read something cool about Hammer Fist Ally in there. I don't know
The
if
slow?
you already mentioned. No, the telepathy with it. That was
yes.
cool.
Within 100 feet, we have telepathy.
Yeah, that's neat. I don't know what
That's
thoughts
cool.
a stone golem
Yeah.
has, but
rock. Like, I don't know what a stone golem would have, but yeah, apparently has. Oh, it's also cool because it's also flavored to look like, and this might be a little bit of a spoiler because I could do this when I use it first time, but it actually is shaped like a giant dwarf, and it has 2 large warhammers that it uses as its weapons. That's just flavor. Doesn't give it anything special, but that's just what the stone golem looks like if you're a cleric of Torog. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Can we just back up to the part where you said giant dwarf? Because
Yeah.
I feel like those 2 words are conflicting.
I mean, giant for a
so
dwarf.
it's just this guy.
Yeah, that's basically
Except
what I
with
think it would look like
hammers.
with hammers. Yeah, that's essentially what it would look like.
He's that big, though. He is.
Yeah, he's the size of a city.
Yeah.
He's actually the last kaiju. That's what they were.
Yes,
But in reality, he's actually just like the same height as Kieran.
that's Kieran. He's a
Even though he's
giant for a
giant
dwarf, so he's 6 foot tall.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's the token that I had in my list of like enemies for the generic stone golems that you guys didn't have to fight. So it's convenient that I can just use that.
Yeah, just use that. That's awesome. But I only get to do that once a day, but
Yep.
still a cool ability.
Very cool ability. So you can go ahead and roll your hit points.
Hey, yeah!
6?
6. I got a
6.
6.
6.
Gross.
Can't win them all.
Kieran has more health than all of us.
You'll never catch me.
I'll never catch Kieran.
Although you will when I start taking sorcerer levels again, because I go back down to a d6. So just wait. Your time will come.
Watch you roll 6s every single time. and we
6
just
is
roll
every
threes.
time. Yep.
And still be the first one to go down in every combat. So there you go.
All right, so yeah, next up I have Josh with Gideon.
Nice. So I'll go ahead and just get HP out of the way because I'm curious how much I'll get. So I'll roll that.
Okay.
Which is
Max.
Max. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I've noticed, I'm looking through my catalog here, Josh is consistently inconsistent. He's
Cool.
rolled several 2s
Yep.
and many 7s and 8s. So there's not a whole lot in the middle.
Well, he needs that to soak up Oran's damage.
Yeah, I do.
He's never rolled a 3 and he's never rolled a 6.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. He's my shield.
Yeah. Oh, well, I have been.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is a funny level for Gideon. I take another level of exalted, so I'm omdura 7, exalted 7, and I get at this point an aspect of divinity, which gives me a number of things. Mechanically, I benefit from a permanent protection from evil. So that's kind of pretty big. It means I can't be touched by summoned creatures. I get rerolls on will saves and stuff like that. But I also gain a makeover. Yeah. So Gideon has grown long silver hair and eyes that glow dimly as if an angel. And then he smells of roses, and ethereal petals drift about and trail around him as he becomes more and more divine than just
flower.
a half. Yep.
So your stealth checks get even worse, and you smell like an old lady.
Yep. These are both true. He smells of rosewater, and he gets a -4 penalty on disguise checks.
We're going to be trying to sneak, and we'll be like, can you put the petals away, Gideon, please? You're leading them right to us.
So he's even more flashy than he was before.
I like to think that it's one of those situations where, like, you see somebody and there's like a little bit of like a flower or something, like a leaf or something in their hair, so you pull it out. But with Gideon, it's like you pull the rose petal out of his hair, and then like he turns around, and on the other side of his head, there's somehow another one, and there's just perpetually like one in his hair at all times, no matter where you pull him from.
Yeah, just like monkeys picking through his hair.
Yeah.
I just am curious to see how the party finds out now that Gideon smells like roses. If it's the fact that we just naturally know, or if he was going around having us sniff him so we know that he smells like roses.
It's just overpowering.
Oran's just like, are you wearing perfume?
Yeah, that'll be what it's like. It'll be fun. But yeah, those are the big things. I swapped out a spell. I also pick up another level 5 spell, which I thought it was quite fitting to get angelic aspect. I love it.
I mean, the big question is, did you keep shield other?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's all I care about.
You're good, buddy. Don't you worry.
I want him to start casting it on like Jessup or something.
Poor Jessup.
Don't make sense of that spell, Sarah.
All right, that brings us to the final member of the party, Brandon with Jessup.
So I took another level in Bard, so I'm level 14 Bard.
Nice.
And a couple just random, stat increases, B stuff. But I did get a new song, which I think's meh. Okay, frightening tune. Basically, I can scare enemies near me to go into a frightenedness, and they just want to run away. I don't know if I'll use it, but I got that. I was able to get another versatility, so I could take another perform, but instead I took expanded versatility again. But this time I did it for my dance and included escape artistry into it. So now when I roll my perform dance, that contributes toward acrobatics, fly, and escape artist.
He's doing the worm out of a grapple.
Basically, I figured he can do the dance moves.
Frampton.
And just got some spells. I did take Alter Self, so Jessup may or may not be creeping around to your guys' rooms after you're done sleeping to grab like hair fragments or things like that, so he can transform to look like you guys. Maybe.
Oh,
you never know.
Awkward at all.
Nope. And what else did I take for a spell? Oh, I did take Echolocation, which would be neat. So
I know what that spell does.
Yep, you sure do. But Jessup didn't like being turned to stone, so he took that, and then new level 5 spell. So I did, and I kind of like this one, Unshakable Zeal. I'll read that for funsies. So it's a enchantment, compulsion, emotion, mind affecting spell. It says you fill the target with a boundless enthusiasm and faith in its ultimate triumph. Whenever the target fails an attack roll, save, skill check, or concentration check, ability check, the target receives a +4 morale bonus to its next attempt at that failed check within 1 round. And if it's an attack against the same foe, or saving throw against the same ability from the same foe, so on. So in addition, when the target would be affected by a fear or emotion effect, they can instead dismiss Unshakable Zeal without spending an action, so it's basically free action, to negate the effect on itself. And it's 1 hour per level, so it'll last for 14 hours, so I think there'd be some pretty cool utility you could do with that.
Yeah.
We'll just have to be mindful that it is a morale bonus, and I know a couple of us can do morales with like, I think the big one's going to be hero or bless, so we'll just have to keep track of when you actually get the full bonus or not. But I think it's cool.
Yeah, when that will stack, I think with like a moment of greatness, I could see somebody getting like a +8 bonus.
Well, and I thought about it too, because there's no limit on how many times you get that +4 bonus a day. It's just either when you dismiss it to help get rid of the nasty like fear effect, or just the time runs out. But I think it'd be cool for like I mentioned a sorcerer, like with Kieran, when he goes dragon form, he gets like 5 attacks. That the first one he misses, he gets +4 in the next, and then if he misses another one in the same full attack action, he in theory could get that, because there's no limit on how many times that you can get the +4, other than you just have to use that bonus within 1 round. So I think it'd be pretty cool.
That's a pretty big buff.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Well, it is level 5. So I mean, bards only get up to 6 level spells, so that's kind of like one of my higher tier spells for a bard for sure.
Yeah, but the fact is duration lasting a long time makes it much more like
When I thought about it too with like Kieran, like how many times that he gets poisoned, in theory, if he fails the first one, it'll give him +4 in the next save on the next turn, kind of can help with that. Won't necessarily help with consecutive rolls, but
Neat.
All right. And what are you going to roll for HP, I wonder?
probably a 2.
That's what Justin rolled. No.
Yep.
A 7.
Oh.
So for this level, our rolls were 11, 8, 2, and 7.
Yeah, of all of those, we want our cleric to have the most HP.
It only
But-
makes sense.
No.
Clerics need to be squishy.
Yes.
No. Not how that works.
And Jason, I took my favorite class bonus normally is take an additional spell, so that's how I got echolocation this level.
Yep, the two of you have been very consistent. It's all HP or all class bonus.
Oh, and I forgot, with toughness, I would get another HP, so I should be at 163.
Yes, the toughness feat gives you...
I always forget that. I've probably forgotten that a lot, but I remembered it this time.
All right, so the 4 of you remain in Kraggodan for some time, while Carburton conducts his research, preparing and planning your next steps against the Legion and for your eventual departure. 2 days after your report to the Even-Handed Synod, Prince Gorm sends a messenger to each of you with a sealed envelope. Within each envelope is a check for the sum of 20,000 gold pieces, taken from the royal family's personal treasury as payment for your services to Kraggodan. In addition, each envelope contains a ring, as well as a note describing it as a Ring of Kraggodan, a gift given to defenders of the Great Sky Citadel and friends of all dwarven kind. Each ring functions as a ring of protection +3, with an additional effect that only functions when equipped by the intended wearer. So, Gideon, your ring bears the sigil of Kraggodan overlaid by a suit of armor. It allows you to cast Clay Skin on yourself once per day at caster level 8th. Kieran's ring bears the sigil of Kraggodan overlaid by a shield. It allows him to empower his shield spell once per day, increasing the amount of bonus it provides by +2 for its duration. Oran's ring bears the sigil of Kraggodan overlaid by an eye. It allows him to gain true seeing for 1 round as a swift action 3 times per day. Jessup's ring bears the sigil of Kraggodan overlaid by a bow and arrow. As a swift action, it grants him the benefits of the precise shot feat for up to 3 minutes per day, spent in 1-minute increments. If he already possesses the precise shot feat, it instead grants him the benefits of improved precise shot feat. So it's 3 times per day, 1 minute per use, basically.
That's fancy.
And that is the payment that the 4 of you get for your accomplishments in the reliquary.
So would we just say that that has a relative value of like a ring of protection +3?
It's probably like 1.5 times the amount.
Okay.
Is the are those rings like, and same with the cloaks, does like the book tell you if you have a certain class to do that, or do you kind of have the liberty to adjust that?
So basically what I did is in book 3 with Long Shadow, they had a specific item that you guys were going to get, but it wasn't terribly suitable for your party. So instead of giving you that item, I instead gave you each the cloaks with special abilities and flavored it that way. And it roughly came out to a similar amount of gold. And it was kind of along the same lines this time. There wasn't a specific thing given, but I just took what reward the book suggested and kind of parsed it out as such to make it more interesting for your party.
I think it's pretty cool we all get specialized thingy. It's pretty... I like it. I think it's a really cool touch.
It's really neat.
I think it's more interesting when I, as the GM, am able to think of items tailored to each of you that don't exist. Things that I know will be of benefit in specific ways.
Right, and along with that too, I like unique items, whether they are campaign specific or in situations like this where the DM has created one for you. You can only get this by playing this character in this game in this situation. You can't buy this off of, the whole list of equipment or magic items that are available in the thousands of books. You had to be here. And I like that aspect a lot.
So with that, you guys have leveled up, you've gotten your rewards, and you are free to stay in Kraggodan for as long as you would like. You have plenty of money now and plenty of items that I'm sure you plan to sell. Sarah had figured some of that out. So you can take some time if you'd like as a party to figure out what items you want to keep or sell, and then what items you would like to look around for, see if you can buy, or maybe upgrade, whatever you want to do with your money.
How does upgrading work on like armor and stuff and weapons?
So basically you take the difference in cost between your current level and the level you'd like it to be at, and that's what you pay, and it takes 1 day per 1,000 gold for it to be completed.
What's the best way to look up like how much something's worth and how much the next version of it's worth? Basically, I just want to make my stuff +2.
So what do you currently have?
Like a +1 light fortification stone plate. I'd like to make that +2.
So a +1 light fortification. So light fortification on armor counts as a +1 bonus. So your armor is functionally a +2 armor because it's +1 light fortification, which would put it at a base price of 4,000. Upping it to the next tier, a functional +3, is 9,000. So the difference would be 5k, and it would take 5 days. If you wanted to add like another special quality of equal to +1 or make it a +3 suit of light fortification armor, that would go up to 16k, so you'd have to pay 12,000, and it would take 12 days. You just have to know what your armor's total bonus is, and you can just do some quick subtraction, basically.
Oh, I see, because it acts as a +2.
Yes.
It's technically worth 9,000.
Yes.
It's
so technically worth
the difference,
4,000.
Technically worth 4,000, not 1,000, so that's why it's 5,000 different.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all Oran would want to do is basically try and make his armor, shield, and weapon a +2.
Okay, and your shield is just a +1?
It's a +1 Defiant Heavy Steel Shield.
Okay, so Defiant I think is also a
Technically
+1
a
bonus.
+1
So
bonus.
same thing there, same amount of time, same amount of cost.
Right.
Your weapon is more. Weapons are like twice as expensive as armor, and so your weapon is a +1 quaking.
Yeah, +1 Quaking Warhammer.
Quaking is a +2 property.
So technically it's worth 9,000 currently.
Yeah, so
Right.
it is functionally a +3 weapon, so it's actually worth 18,000.
Okay.
Because the second link I gave there is the weapons page. It's pretty much the same except the numbers are doubled. So a +3 functional weapon is 18,000, and bringing it up to a +4 functional would be 32. So the difference of that would be 14,000. So that would take 2 weeks and 14,000 to do that.
Okay. I mean, does anyone have objections with that? I can afford that, all 3 of those.
How many
You've got
weeks?
The money.
It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 14 days.
Yeah. Gideon had some retraining I think I want him to do, so that was going to take time.
Gideon's planning to stay for a couple years.
No.
He's here and he's staying.
5 days, I think it is. Along that note, maybe among the garrison or other places, would Gideon be able to find somebody capable of teaching him one of 2 feats, 2-weapon fighting or shield slam?
Unfortunately, there's not a single dwarf in all of Kraggodan
that knows how to do that.
who knows how to shield slam. They've never even heard of the concept.
Not even one of them?
Yeah, you can easily. So you're retraining a feat.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it's been something
What are
I've
you
considered.
getting rid of?
Armor focus.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're
It
like,
just-
who needs AC?
Well, it's just, yeah, it is useful, I guess, like, because after a certain point you can only enchant your armor so far, but I've gotten lots of other ways to boost my AC that, like, having one base has not proved as helpful as I thought. And when I took that one originally, I was kind of like, I don't know what Gideon wants. Now I have a feat line in mind, and so I want to be able to qualify for things.
But have you considered that if you get rid of armor focus, you can't take improved armor focus?
Yeah, I've considered that.
Okay. Yeah, you can easily find somebody in the city who has those feats. You just two weapon fighting and shield slam.
Yeah, I think I'll take 2-weapon fighting then if I can find someone to do that. Shield slam will be the alternative choice.
All right, and yeah, that shouldn't be a problem because I don't think you have any feats that require armor focus as a prerequisite. If you did, then that would be you wouldn't be able to retrain that. Anything else that you guys know off the top of your head you want to do? And again, we can hash out some of this between sessions. That's fine. It's just you won't have stuff for this particular session is all.
I think mine's going to be more utility, but I'm not too worried. Probably just like bag of holding and some nonsense like that. Offhand.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, mine's all like contingent on like if this isn't there, then I'd look to get this. If that, so it might just be too complicated to do now.
Jessup would, though, probably try to find people around Kraggodan, like maybe a shopkeeper, and see like if they would be willing to sell him like a lock of hair or something of their own hair.
Interesting.
It's
So,
not weird at all.
I guess his so just to kind of explain. So I took alter self, in which I need to have something of the possession of whatever I'm trying to transform into. I'm assuming I would transform into the specific thing, or is it just general? Like if I have dwarf hair, I transform into somewhat of a dwarf, or would I take like Oran's hair and I would transform into Oran himself? Because it specifically just says, when you cast the spell, you can assume the form of any small or medium creature of the humanoid type. If the form you assume has any of the following abilities, you get a yada yada. But I thought it said it a component. Oh yeah, so you need a piece of the creature whose form you plan to assume. So I'm assuming I would turn into the actual person or the creature?
I know there's one spell that says specifically that you don't choose who you look like, but that might just be disguise self.
Like, I don't care. I don't have to look like anybody in particular. I guess what Jessup's goals are is like the next time we encounter a hobgoblin, he's going to take a tooth, something along those lines to have and keep. He's going to keep a pouch so that because now I feel like he's getting really high in his face rolls, fingers crossed, that if we need to look like some other race or something, he could transform. I just know if I had to have like somebody's specific hair. So if he wants to try to do something, you know, with Oran, he doesn't want to look like Oran because then it would just be awkward to have two Orans running around. So he would like take hair from somebody in Kraggodan. So if we go somewhere else, like maybe Balthun or whatever, he could look like just a dwarf from Kraggodan that probably nobody would know.
So it's not under the spell Alter Self, but Alter Self is a polymorph spell, and under the rules for polymorph, it says, unless otherwise noted, polymorph spells cannot be used to change into specific individuals. Although many of the fine details can be controlled, your appearance is always that of a generic member of that creature's type.
Cool. So I guess it doesn't matter. So Jessup would attempt to explain that to Oran and ask for a lock of Oran's hair or something along those lines to have and keep.
Oh, that's not creepy at all.
I mean, I could ask for it now, or I could just try to use my newfound stealth to get it while you're sleeping too, buddy.
Give him armpit hair.
Yeah, that's what he does. He pulls out a belly hair.
Oh,
That's what he gives you.
It's like My Hero Academia. He has to eat it to transfer.
no.
Oh, God. Well, down the hatch.
No. He'll give you a beard hair because you're a friend.
Yeah.
Oh, those are reserved
friends-
for
Oh, nice.
Friends.
That's sacred. He pulled out
That's
a
what I'm
beard hair.
saying. A beard hair. It won't ever grow back. That's a big
So
deal.
Jason, so if I'm already human, can I transform into a different human then with Alter Self, kind of similar to Disguise Self?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, you wouldn't get any of the spell's bonuses because
Right. I guess it just transforms me into some. If I just don't want to look like Jessup for some who knows purpose, scheming.
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 I would say, like, if you had a different human's hair, maybe.
Kieran.
I will point out, this is a material component, not a focus component, so he will need a steady supply.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, that's why I said just give me a few pieces of hair.
So, one thing that you know, though, is in these 2 weeks, you don't really know where Kieran is.
Oh.
He's not out and about with you guys.
Jessup continually checks the bathhouse. Jessup just goes to the bathhouse and just finds all the hair clogged in the drains. Like, well, I don't know what this is going to be, but I guess that's what I'm going to transform
It
into.
looks like random dwarves. Like, just random dwarves.
Turns out it's the female beard hair, so he turns into a woman when he casts the spell.
You know, I'll roll with it.
All right.
Okay, then, so other than Jessup being creepy, I guess I'm good.
Okay. So, yeah, like I said, we can hash out any of the other details between sessions. And for now, we will just carry on with how we're going here. So, after at least 14 days of research, who knows if there's anything else you guys do that will take longer than that, but after at least 14 days of research, Carburton would eventually summon you all back to his home. Unless there is anything besides shopping that you guys wanted to do during this downtime period. Maybe we should have asked that first. Basically, once we've figured out all of your downtime activities, Carburton will summon you. So, last call for anything you guys want to cover.
No, I think Jessup would just help with doing some more of the research now that I feel like we're not necessarily under pressure. I did also take Abyssal as a language because we obviously encounter demons, so he probably would during that time, like, quote-unquote, be trying to study how to speak Abyssal.
Oh, Oran would study language as well. He did the same thing. Interesting.
All I wanted to do was there would probably be a scene with Gideon. I don't know if he would tell others this or if it'd be a private moment. But the way I interpret aspect of divinity as an exalted is like this is the manifestation of Milani's grace and acceptance of him into his service. So the way he interprets this is that he will continue to serve Milani in the afterlife. He might even be reincarnated. Or maybe even become, one of her servants or heralds. So for him, this is a really big deal because it approaches him becoming someone very powerful and able to help others. So he would probably be offering prayers of gratitude and thanks, or just quietly mentioning to others that if they ask him why he looks so different, he says that he explains that in brief detail. He's very brief though. He doesn't elaborate the point. He just,
Is it just the I'm kind of a big deal now?
Yeah,
Is that what it is? Like,
it's kind of like that. I'm kind of a big deal. But he's
kind of a big deal.
He's graceful and eloquent about it, but basically just explains that this means he's been accepted into her eternal service.
And Oran would go see his pappy. That would be something he would do in the meantime.
Right, yep. With the siege on its way towards a ceasefire, it would be safer to go up onto the surface and meet up with him. Do you think Oran would like help tend the shop for a bit? Because he was a store owner at one point, right?
Yeah. Like he helped in the shop. Yeah, because his father's a merchant there in the town. So.
Yeah. So maybe like Oran would spend some time rebuilding the place because with the prospect of trade starting to pick back up, he could start up his business again. So.
Absolutely.
Moving boxes out of storage.
Yep.
Gideon would occasionally offer help or tag along with whatever the other two are doing. Since Kieran's gone, Gideon will be the opposite of antisocial and trying to make himself useful and involved with the rest.
I think that probably like after 5 or so days have passed and Kieran hasn't really been around, I think he would like try to get some messengers to send a like message to the 3 of you, and he would ask that you come meet him on like by the fist out on the surface at a certain time and a certain day. So he would basically be waiting up there to see if you guys would meet him.
Yeah, I mean Oran's just right down here.
Nobody shows up.
Okay.
No one shows up. We all ignore the letters.
And he's like, it was my birthday. Yeah, it's really
On your own now.
Yeah. So I think if you guys all show up, you see Kieran standing there, and he doesn't even really look at you as you approach. He's just watching out beyond the walls of Kraggodan, watching the Molthuni army make their movements. He doesn't know at this point if they're leaving or if they're just, mobilizing. He doesn't know what's going on, but he's just been standing there watching. And you can tell that he hasn't either slept well or slept at all. Like his face is very drawn, and he's got like dark circles under his eyes, and he actually hasn't shaved, so he's got like the beginnings of scruff, and it just looks like very unlike Kieran. He's usually very composed, and especially about his hygiene, and it just seems like he, for the past few days, hasn't really been taking care of himself the way that he normally does. And as you approach, he stands there silent for a little bit, and then he speaks and he says, I've been doing a lot of thinking the last few days, and if you would permit me, I'd like to tell you a story.
Gideon nods.
Sure.
Love a good story.
He takes a deep breath, and you can see that his hands are shaking, and he tries to like calm his hands. He folds them together, still just looking out in the distance at the Molthuni army. And he says, there was once a boy who was born into a wealthy noble house. He had a father, a mother, 4 older brothers, and 2 older sisters. He was given the best education and physical training, but with privilege comes expectation. He struggled to maintain focus during his studies. His mind would wander, and his imagination would tell him stories of adventure and excitement. But this did not sit well with his family. Being from a noble house, he was expected to uphold the family's name. This meant that when he came of age, he would join the military as an officer and fight to defend his homeland and uphold his country's tenets. At first, all was well. He put aside his distractions and worked to become a man worthy of his name, like his older brothers. His eldest brother, senior in age by 20 years, was his best friend and confidant. Whenever the boy would get himself into trouble, usually having played pranks on his sisters, his brother would usually come to his rescue, sometimes taking the blame and punishment on himself. He loved his brother dearly. His brother had already made a name for himself in the military. He was a decorated officer and well respected amongst his men. He was the true embodiment of their father's dreams for his family, and the pride of his father was evident in him. However, when the boy was only 10 years old, a knock at the door and 2 soldiers holding a beautiful greatsword destroyed his entire world. It was a training accident, they said. He was a hero and a testament to the strength and honor of his regiment, they said. But those words fell on deaf ears as the boy flew into a rage and charged at the guests. A backhand from his father sent him flying to the ground, but he felt no physical pain. He only felt blinding rage and raw wounds tearing his heart to shreds. If this is what it meant to be a hero of the family, he wanted no part of it. He changed that day. No one in the family noticed except his grandfather, who took him under his wing and began to mentor him. Over the next few years, his other older brothers, would leave to fulfill missions within the military. One by one, they would disappear, almost from existence entirely, their whereabouts unknown, their letters ceasing. This emotional pain seemed to manifest something strange within the boy. Within a couple of years, he began to exhibit strange powers. It was weak at first, and once his father found out, he was forbidden to use it. After all, magic was used by weak fools who lived in towers reading books. But unbeknownst to him at first, his grandfather had also manifested similar abilities early in life. The two began to work in secret, where the elder man would guide him through his burgeoning abilities and also share stories of his adventures in the lands to the north. Lands that were filled with defiant barbarians and cowards, or so he had been taught growing up. His worldview was shattered, but what was building in its place was far more meaningful. When he became of age, he joined the military in full, thus leaving little time with his grandfather. When he wasn't in classes learning battle strategies, he was in the training arena, developing his fighting prowess and technique. He wasn't there the day his grandfather died. Although he had received word of his grandfather being ill, he had been assured it was of no consequence. The sudden death hit him almost as hard as his brother's years before, but there was something different about this death, something suspicious about the way his father looked at him now. That was when he knew he couldn't stay. He no longer wanted any part of that family. He wanted to find out if what his grandfather had told him was true, which would mean leaving everything behind, including his sisters, whom he cherished. So that's what he did. He said nothing, and he left no trace. He simply packed his necessary belongings, the most precious of which was his glaive, given to him by his grandfather. In the dark of the night, he left his home and headed north to Nirmathos, to the land of the barbarians and cowards, to find out for himself if the stories he had heard from his grandfather were true, and to find out whether he had been fighting on the right or wrong side for his entire life. And he'll turn and he'll face you, and you can see his eyes are drawn tight with emotion that he doesn't normally show. And he looks directly at Kieran. He looks directly at Gideon and Oran, and he says, I am not the man that I have been with you these past few months. My name is Rhys Kieran Tiralia, and I come from the city of Canarit, the capital of Multhune. Jessup knows this because the man that disappeared in the reliquary was one of my older brothers, Ryden, whom I have not seen for many years. I had been living as this man, Kieran, this different man, for so long, and I enjoyed living as him. But when I saw my brother there, I had to do something. And that meant lying, and that meant betraying your trust. But I had to get him out, so that night, I teleported him back to Canarit, after having told him everything of our quest. And he assured me that he would do everything he could with his influence in the military to work towards a ceasefire on the Multhune side. I don't know what, if anything, has come from that, but I can tell you that he is trustworthy and he will do as he says. I understand this is a lot, but I've given it much thought over the past few days, and I cannot continue with this quest having this information remain secret. It's not fair to Jessup for me to put this burden on him. So I will say that if this changes how you feel about me, and if you no longer trust me enough to continue traveling with you, then I will leave. But I won't stop with what we have to do here, because what I found out in the tower at Fort Travale was that the next place they're going is Multhune, and I will not let my family, my sisters, fall to the Iron Fang Legion. So if you tell me here and now that you're done with me, that you're going to continue on your own, I will respect that and I will leave, but I will do everything in my power to stop the Legion however I can.
Jessup pretends to have a shocked look on his face like, what?
Surprised Pikachu?
What? Wait, what? You guys lied to me from the beginning.
I think Oran would have a real creased brow during all of that, just kind of taking all that in. Well, that is quite the revelation. I do feel a bit betrayed, but given the revelations that we learned and that clearly Multhune wasn't involved in breaking into the vaults, why was he there in the first place?
He holds great importance in the subterfuge division within the Morthune military. He's very good at infiltrating and leaving without a trace. Yes, he's a spy. But according to him, what he told me is that he was sent by Morthune to figure out why the dwarves accused us of stealing from them when we had no knowledge of that. So he was in here doing similar research to what we were doing, trying to figure out why we were being blamed in the first place.
I think to that, Oran would probably be nodding, still furrow-browed, but I think that makes sense. Did you not trust Gideon and I at the time?
I don't know what I did, Oran. I panicked. I had gone in there and seen his statue at first when I was exploring. And it was strange because when the ghost came out and began talking to me, it didn't recognize me, which seemed odd. So I wasn't sure if it just had been too long or if there was something else going on. But then later, when we were able to bring him back, he said that he would he agreed in front of us to go speak with the synod. But I was afraid that they wouldn't understand, that they would blame him and that they would arrest him, and I panicked because I've already lost a brother who was the dearest person to me in my life, and I was not willing to lose another brother. So I know I am at fault for that. I will take whatever blame, whatever punishment you feel is necessary for lying to you, betraying
Immediately
you.
Strikes down, Kieran. No.
Power word kill.
Level 7 spell twice.
No, I think you're gonna have to leave the party. Yeah.
Yeah, you're out of here. You're done. You're done.
I hope you got a 14 level backup character ready to go because
ready to go right now.
Kieran's out of here.
I hope his name's Ryden.
Prince Gorm walks out from under the fist and says, "I've decided to join you on your quest."
Yeah.
Right.
See how I can roleplay a dwarf. But honestly, like, he is being completely serious in that. If he because he is a lawful character, to him honor is everything, and he has lost
Betrayed it.
Yes, yeah. He's betrayed your trust. He's betrayed that respect that you had as a party. And I think because of that, I think the catalyst came after all of the stuff that happened in the reliquary. And since then, like, he can't sleep. He can barely eat. Like, it's eating him up from the inside. And he had to come clean because he can't continue on like this anymore. So he's willing to do whatever you guys think is fair because in his mind, he deserves it.
Jessup would he would just speak up to Oran and Gideon. Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of didn't spill the whole beans. It kind of sprung up on me, actually. I think at one point Ryan said he wanted to silence me, which was a little awkward. But I owe Kieran quite a bit, so I couldn't turn a blind eye to his request to kind of keep a little hush-hush. He did hit me, though. I did actually get knocked unconscious. That was not a lie. He cracked me good.
And let me just tell you that taking him to Canner was not easy. I ended up in a completely different place and had to purchase a scroll of teleport just to get back here. So that was... Don't worry, I took it from my share of the party funds, and I have already put that back in, but it was a very interesting evening for me. Oh yes, if I recall, it was in Nidal, which is not a place that anyone wants to just end up in, so we'll have to keep that in mind if you decide to keep me on board and we continue to teleport places. We could end up in some pretty bad cities or locations.
Gideon will give Kieran a sad smile.
The heck is a sad smile?
One where you're trying to... You're
His lips
sad,
are
but you're...
quivering.
Yeah, not quivering, but, just,
Quivering lip. He's so distraught.
He's trying to be reassuring because he has respect for Kieran, but he's hesitant to say what he will next, and it's basically, Kieran, I have fought beside you, and that is worth something. But I hope you still have some respect enough left for me. I will need some time to think on this.
Absolutely. I mean, if I understand Oran's commission well enough, we still have at least, 8 days left before we can go anyway, so I completely understand.
You mean time to think? Like, are we doing a vote here? Because I vote to keep Kieran in.
Gideon walks away.
Okay, Oran, it's if you say yes, then it doesn't matter what he says.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, it stings a little that Kieran didn't trust me enough to be upfront about it, but this might surprise you, but I actually can see the honor in what you did. I mean, I think I've made it pretty clear that I'm not always the most understanding person, and Kraggodan's the most important thing to me, and by that an extension of my family, my people, the dwarves, and I've not always been so understanding of that. So, believe it or not, Kieran, if it's true that was your brother and that Malthun is in fact in danger, I actually understand where you're coming from, and I think I can move past this. I see a lot of how I've behaved in the past in what you did, and I can't fault you for that.
And I think Kieran gives you a particularly pained expression because he'll say, Oran, of all of the members of this party, I owe you the most, as you have brought me back to life on many occasions. So trust me, this wasn't a matter of me choosing Jessup over you or Gideon. It was a matter of Jessup and I were both staying on watch that night, and I acted on impulse. So I appreciate the vote of confidence that you both have given me, and I understand that you would both apparently be comfortable with moving forward with me, but if Gideon says otherwise, I will count that as majority, and I will leave.
I don't think you know how majority works.
You're a friend of Kraggodan. I mean, our very leader has given you a symbol of that, and you did help save my home and solve a great mystery. I mean, who knows how much longer the conflict would have gone, and it could have possibly escalated if not for your help.
Out of game, Jessup would be like, "You're a friend of Kraggodan. You were built on a throne of lies."
Yeah. And Kieran will say, and Oran, I know that the Zone of Truth spell is quite worthless because it doesn't tell you when somebody fails or passes, but I assure you that if there's anything else that you want to know about me, I will not hold anything back. I have told you everything there is, and should you have more questions, I will answer them truthfully. You just won't be able to verify that, but, you have my word, even though we've proven that's not worth much, but, maybe someday you'll trust me again.
Did you visit your brother or family over the past couple days here while you mysteriously just kind of went away?
No, I've just been up here, watching, thinking.
For 5 straight
It's got
days.
a little cot set up, a little bed,
You see, Captain Renzo walks out and he's like, "You're still here? Like, can you leave? This is
This is a war zone. What are you doing?
this is military territory right here. Like, you can't just sleep here on the side of the road."
Well, I mean...
This is our fortress. What are you doing?
I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to have been, in this exact spot, but he's been on the surface, basically, just,
Look,
thinking...
crossing the road every other day doesn't count.
The regular daily messengers and homeless and a couple of workers and laborers in the area, they all give Kieran a nod, like he's been here a long time. They all know him.
Yeah. There's a lot of camaraderie there now.
He's like, one of us.
One of us. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, he has not left the city.
I don't know what is coming next, and if that's true that the Legion's going to fight Malthun. I won't lie to you, Kieran. I'm not 100% go get let's go save Malthun. Kind of caused some turmoil for me and Nirmathas and my friends and family for quite some time. But can't let the Legion get any stronger than they already have either, even if it's looking for some unconventional allies, I suppose.
I think that's the way we have to look at it, Jessup. The enemy we know versus the enemy we don't. We may not like Malthun, but maybe we can coexist, and I know we can't coexist with the Legion.
Yeah, as it stands right now, Jessup kind of has a sad smile. They have recently taken. It's not really a sad smile. This is going to sound terrible. Well, the Legion has taken more of my family recently than Malthun has. My father, just family, not direct family, but friends that I've known for quite some time in Long Shadow. It's been a rough couple of months.
And I'll be the first to say I know that Malthun has not been good to your people, but one thing I've learned from being in Nirmathos is that there are extremes here as well. And there are many, many, many good people in Nirmathos, which is entirely different from what we've been taught growing up in Malthun. Well, the same goes for Malthun. There are very good people there as well. Take the general, for instance. I have heard of him. He's high-ranking and has respect, but he is also spoken of behind his back as being soft. A lot of the corruption is high up, and I'll be the first to say that something needs to change, but first we need to take care of the Legion issue, and then we can work on relations between the countries.
Well, I don't know how long that'll go, but it will save people of Nirmathos. I'm good for it. Kieran, you're definitely right. We have some wackadoodles here in Nirmathos for sure. Part of my role in the Rangers was to recruit individuals into the Rangers themselves, spread stories, try to promote freedom. To tell you the truth, he'd probably roll in his grave. In the beginning, I don't even know if I could have helped initiate someone like Aiden into the Rangers. A little too passionate, I guess. I didn't like trying to get people that were just wanting to join the Rangers as a reason to be, bloodthirsty and take out revenge. I'm all for getting people that want to promote freedom and protect friends and family, but just kind of a free pass to commit genocide, that's not my way.
Speaking of that, if you could just keep this, I don't want to make you keep secrets, but if we could just not bring this up around Sirio if we see him again, that guy scares me, so.
Oh yeah, he's one of them wackadoodles for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even without a leg, he probably would still kill me. So if we could just keep this hush-hush until relations improve, maybe.
Or, maybe we just keep it a secret forever.
I don't want to keep secrets, but just maybe don't bring it up in conversation. Something like that. But anyway, I feel I've taken up too much of your time already. And he noticeably looks like relieved, even though he doesn't necessarily know the outcome of the decision. He feels like just telling you has taken a weight off his shoulders. And so he will, take a deep breath and he'll say, I need a drink. Do any of you want to join me?
Yeah, I like a good drink.
Sure? I mean, you already look like you've had quite the bender.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of days. I meant to talk to you earlier, but then I chickened out, so finally worked up the courage to say it. It was not easy, trying to come up with the best way to say it, but I feel better now that it's out there.
Yeah, so 3 things then. 1, Kieran, super proud of you. 2, we should go to the sauna and get you cleaned up before we go out drinking. 3, random, can I have your beard clippings for no particular reason?
Might I ask why?
Well, I said no particular reason.
Well, that doesn't really sit well with me.
Oh,
It's
okay, fine. If you really want to know, I, over the past few days, have tried to learn some new spells. I learned a new one that allows me to potentially take the form of another creature. So Oran here is already kind enough to give me some of his beard hair, so I feel that we need to keep a trend up, and I would just use your clippings to alter myself to also get some shimmering 12-pack abs.
No, you can't use your own hair?
Not for that spell, because otherwise I would just make myself look like me, which is not overly impressive.
That's all you get from Kieran's is a 12-pack of abs, but you still look like Jessup.
I like those bodybuilders that are still like kind of chubby but have the abs.
Yep. That's what you
But it's just like Clark Kent, I get abs and nobody knows who I am. Who's that guy?
So, I have to ask. Is this going to make you look like me?
I don't think so. I mean, it's random. Maybe.
Okay, because I don't want you going off and doing some like criminal stuff looking like me. I've already gotten myself into enough trouble, so, I don't want to be framed for anything.
Do you think that I would go do any criminal activities?
I don't know, all right? I don't know what secrets that you guys have.
I only helped an enemy of the state escape. Other than that, I am clean slate.
Well, that wasn't your choice, but we won't go there. Anyway, yes, you can have them if you want. I'm not going to ask any more questions. I'll just give them to you and then forget that this conversation ever happened.
Like, just the beard clippings or all of it?
Just the beard clippings. The other
Okay,
part I
good.
need to keep in my mind, but just the beard part is freaking me out, so let's go get a drink.
Sweet. Now I just need to collect from Gideon and I can be a half-elf.
All right.
Jason, how many, just for purposes of the material components, how many beard clippings did I obtain? Do I roll like 1d1, a couple D100s?
I think we could
I'm not really gonna
hand wave it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
hate
gonna
it
hand
so
wave it for the most part.
It's the worst.
Hold on. Roll
I give him toenail clippings.
D100. I could do it.
Oh, no.
181 beard clippings.
That's too many beard clippings.
That's a lot.
Wow,
What are
you
you
rolled a
holding?
1 on a
Do you hold the
D100.
bowl under
Oh,
under Kieran while you're shaking
We're all
him?
taking a bath. You just see Jeff going, 1, 2.
okay. No. Kieran's not, like, nobody's gonna be there when Kieran shaves. He'll just, like, put it in an envelope and give it to Jessup later, because that's weird. He doesn't want
It's
Gideon,
like yeah, hands him a brown paper bag. Like,
It's just
here,
beard
I
clippings.
got this stuff. It's my beard clippings.
It's my beard clippings.
That's so weird. Oh, so weird.
Gideon, I need some of your rose sweat.
Oh,
Don't ask.
so I think from that point on, like, Kieran is much
look
more
better?
like himself. Yeah, he will, get something to eat. He will bathe and shave, and then he will go to the tavern with Oran and Jessup, and he'll treat them to a round of drinks.
All right. So, one thing going off of the conversation that you guys were having is I thought it might be interesting to kind of cycle back and talk about something that you guys never learned because it wasn't something that you would have found out, but something in book 2 that I thought was very interesting. Kieran was talking about how, there are good people in Malthun and there are bad people in Nirmathos, sort of thing. And do you remember in book 2 when you were at Fort Trevale, the fort with the dragon?
Yeah.
There was the one room at the south of the map that had that ghost, that specter you fought?
Yep. The one that died counting his money or whatever.
Yeah, so the book actually goes into a little bit of detail about him that I thought it might be fun to kind of read out to you. It says, not every member of the Chernasardo Rangers was a selfless crusader for freedom. Ota Gax was a violent and short-tempered monster who found that the Rangers' cause and isolationist operating procedure perfectly suited the bloodlust that saw her exiled from her homeland of Druma. As long as she limited her cruelty to Malthuni troops, her fellow Rangers grumbled but ultimately turned a blind eye to her depredations. So she was basically a serial killer in the guise of a Chernasardo Ranger, and she actually died in that location when the fort was attacked.
That wasn't the one counting money. That was the one further south.
No, yeah. So this was a different one. So the one counting money was a ghost. This was a specter that you guys fought.
Yeah, we didn't actually fight though. Like we went in there.
Oh yeah, you ran
and
away
grabbed
because it.
something and then
Yeah.
left and shut the door, and they leashed at the door. I think we
Yeah,
didn't
so
actually.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
that's
you
right.
ran in.
Yep.
You ran in and grabbed whatever you saw in the corner and
Yeah.
then ran out. If you'll recall, that is where you found a bag of Malthuni medals.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Those
like with the cages, right? Like that was like dog cages and stuff.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
were a bunch of
room.
dog cages in there as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when they attacked, she had been caught in that room, and the trolls uncovered her and just let their troll hounds in, and basically she got eaten to death there.
Ew, so those medals were like her trophies that like serial
Yes.
killers keep. Oh,
Yeah.
that's messed up.
That's another point. So, like over drinks, Kieran would explain to you he has kept all of those medals. One in particular belonged to his second oldest brother, who he now knows is dead.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, like when we got those medals, Kieran secretly kept them, and he would also explain to you that his ring is like technically a ring of protection +1, but the sigil on it is the crest of House Taralia. So that is another like keepsake. And I think, Jason, there was something. Oh, you had Jessup roll on the medals. You had him roll a knowledge nobility, I think, to see if he could recognize the symbol on the medal with the symbol on Kieran's ring, and he didn't roll high enough. But it was possible that Jessup would have seen a similarity between the two, even back in like book 2.
Yeah, I called for it just to see if I wasn't going to say, oh, that looks like Kieran's ring. I was going to be like, that particular medal looks familiar for some reason, but you don't know why. That was as far as I was going to explain it. But yeah, that bag had 14 Malthuni medals. So
Yeah, Kieran would pull them out and again, like also explain that was part of his motivation, because now instead of having 4 brothers, he's now only got 2, and one of them still is MIA. So he doesn't know if that one's dead or alive. He had kind of just assumed they all were dead.
yeah, I thought that was a very interesting bit of lore that applied kind of out of game to the conversation that went on. So it basically just confirms, there's bad people on both sides and good people on both sides. But I thought I'd read that off.
Did Jessup know that person?
Probably not. Jessup spent a lot of his time recruiting people, and that is not someone he would have recruited, so they probably joined separately.
Jessup's like, actually, I recruited her.
I thought she was swell.
Yeah, I thought she was great.
I mean, presumably, because a lot of Rangers died, the only one maybe left that Jessup had recruited was Corncob.
Yeah.
Oh, corncob.
Who's still alive?
Yes, and reorganizing the Rangers at the fort now with cereal. So, yeah, you guys have that conversation. You go out for drinks and all that stuff. And again, any other remaining scenes for the remainder of the days?
Yeah, at some point, Gideon is going to pull Jessup aside privately.
Okay.
Maybe go out to a pub, ironically enough, not knowing that
What are we, alcoholics?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Gideon wasn't there. He didn't know. He didn't know that he already went.
Kieran has always been one for the cups, so.
Yeah, Kieran has been. But wherever this scene takes place doesn't matter so much, so long as they meet up in private. Jessup, if I'm to be honest with you now, I would like to talk about Kieran. It is,
Were we at the pub or not?
yeah, sure, we can be at the pub.
Okay.
We can set the scene as we went to the pub, just ordered drinks. They both are there, and he begins talking.
Sure. What do you want to know?
Well, to be honest, I was not nearly as upset as I feigned. I just wanted a moment to speak with you privately because I feel that Kieran's actions should have realistically affected you the most, given that you are near Marthi and Malthun has been your enemy. I'm inclined to trust Kieran. I believe his actions have spoken well of him, regardless of what his past may be. But that said, he did lie, and he lied to you. Most of all, I was not there when you were informed, and I don't know all of the magics that Kieran is capable of. I wanted to hear without him around, without his influence or being over you or however. Do you truly trust that man? And are you willing to set aside your differences by birth?
If you were in my shoes, what would you do?
He leans back. I do not know, Jessup. I have not fought against other kin before. Most of my fighting had been undead or orcs. And to be honest, I'm not sure a younger Gideon would have made the right choice. Though I like to think that now, my true goal in fighting and serving Milani's cause is peace and freedom for all people. And Kieran's story has shown me that all people can be oppressed in their own ways.
Sure can. Jessup takes a big gulp of his ale.
And to that point, I don't have your lived experience growing up in Nearmythos, so I can't speak to that.
You know, Gideon, I stand for freedom. I'm sitting right now, but I stand for freedom. And, I would have recruited Kieran into the Rangers if I could. Even though I know that he's Malthune, he has done more for Nearmythos than some Rangers I know who apparently dedicate their lives to ridding themselves of those nasty Malthuni. So yes, I trust him. He might have cast some spells on me. I don't know, but I think I'm okay. He's okay. You haven't finished your drink yet. What are you doing?
To be honest, I'm not particular to alcohol so much.
Jessup slides Gideon's mug over to him. I'll take it.
Kieran's been a bad
Drinks
influence.
of it.
Gideon smiles. I'm sorry, I'm afraid that I won't be the most excellent of drinking company. And he goes to stand up, and he'll do a
good listener.
quick scan of the room, Jace. Is there any other parties that are...
Real quick, a good listener, he did all the talking.
Yeah. Quick scan of the room. Is there any other group of dwarves giving into revelry, or is there any particularly cute ladies in the vicinity?
There are a
Wait.
lot of dwarves.
Oh yeah.
What is Gideon onto now?
Gideon, before he leaves, he's gonna try to corral a handful of fun people and be like, "Here, this is the hero of Nearmythos, the hero of Phaendar, Jessup himself, one of the famed Chanasardo Rangers, truly a man among men," and introduce them and kind of leave them all to their revelry as he takes
Jessup
off.
raises his mug. I'm a bard among bards.
There would be, there'd be plenty of dwarves in there. Now that things are looking up on the siege front, the city got quite a bit more lively, so the pubs are even more full than they were when you first arrived, so it would
Gideon might enjoy the atmosphere a bit longer and tell some embellished, though non-specific stories of supposed feats of, Jessup, Elfin the Brave.
He's taking my job. You doing my buffs. You corralling these people. Stay in your class lane, buddy.
It's a pretty good show.
All right. So, do you meet up with Kieran after this, or?
Yeah, at one point he'll find Kieran. I don't know what he's doing, but I imagine
Still by the fist.
I imagine he might be. I don't know.
No, he's probably shopping now.
Oh. Well, apparently Jessup's being mobbed by women and dwarves.
Women and dwarves. Well, dwarves can be women,
Male dwarves. He's being swarmed by male dwarves.
They're like
It's exclusive.
changelings. All dwarves
Yeah.
are men.
Yeah, it's exclusively male dwarves and female non-dwarves.
Great. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, he'll meet up with him at some point. I imagine it's nighttime because I just like that. Of course, there's no real day unless we're up at the fist.
Yeah, it's pretty much daytime perpetually when you're down in the mountain hold, because it's the sun is just that massive crystal and flame that refracts off of the ceiling of the cavern.
Oh,
So-
I know. You find Kieran at a nice little cafe enjoying a cup of coffee and a pastry.
It's actually very easy to find him because you just have to ask, have you seen someone with wings walking down the street?
Have you seen
He
a dragon
doesn't-
person?
No, he doesn't just like pull out his wings willy-nilly, okay?
Oh, maybe he does.
No, he doesn't. No.
Sometimes.
No.
I mean, I gotta be honest. If I had wings, I'd have them out willy nilly all the time, constantly.
I know that we leveled up, so technically he has it available, but I'm like playing it that he doesn't he wasn't just walking down the street and like, oh ho, wings, surprise.
Where did these come from?
No.
I like to think he sneezed and they just popped out when he sneezed. What are these?
I love the different approach where I'm just like, yeah, no, Gideon looks like an angel now, and you're just like, no, like he doesn't know.
No.
It's like Kieran will find out eventually, but
So yeah, he's enjoying a nice day with a pastry and coffee, which I'm sure is like horribly, horribly dark and bitter, like super black coffee that he's like not really drinking, but kind of absentmindedly dipping his pastry into.
I'm sorry, do you think dwarves can't make a good cup of joe?
Well,
Is
no,
that what
I'm
I'm
saying
hearing?
like with their proclivity for like dark beers and ales, it's probably like very.
Oh, it's very strong. I get what you're saying.
Kieran drinks coffee like his personality, dark and bitter.
yeah.
Dark and
Bitter.
brooding.
That's why they have such good beards.
Yes, it's the coffee.
Yeah, right? It'll put hair in your chest.
So he finds him,
It's okay, Jessup will clip it off.
Oh!
and kind of asks if he can sit with him.
Sure, Gideon. Have a seat. Would you like me to get you pastry?
No, I'm all right without a pastry, though. I'll indulge a coffee.
All right, I'll. He goes and he brings you a coffee and a pastry. If you don't want it, I'll eat it, but I figured, maybe once you see it, you'll want to try. It's actually really good.
Or maybe you'll feel less bad about buying two this way. I don't judge, Kieran. And on that note, I want you to know, I do support you, and I would be honored to fight along your side. To be honest with you, the night before, it did surprise me, and I was, but for a moment, hurt by your lies. But I understood the purpose of your deceptions and that they were not inherently evil. I had to talk with Jessup alone to make sure that the strength of his conviction was true, and I have assured as much. He speaks well of you.
He gives me more credit than I'm due, I think.
Sometimes, and that's why I want to charge you. Do not let him down.
Oh, I thought you meant literally give you money, charge me for. That was my punishment, but I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Charge me with. Go on.
A promise. You will not betray Jessup's trust, and you will live up to every expectation he has of you. And if you can agree to that, I would like you to stick around.
I mean, my gut feeling is that, yes, I would promise that, but I don't know all of Jessup's expectations for me, so not really comfortable with promising something that I don't necessarily know if I can hit, but I think that's something I can do. And he leans forward and he sticks out his pinky. This is how we do it in Multhune.
I'm not familiar with this custom, but
Just
he
give me your
puts out
pinky,
a pinky.
of your opposite hand.
All right, like a handshake.
Sort of, but only with the pinky.
Oh, okay.
It's
Then he
pinky
kinda
promise.
figures out. Pinky promise.
This session is so weird.
Strange.
Beard
Strange.
clippings and pinky promises. That's the name of this episode.
Yeah.
Strange custom.
Multhune has become a very cute expansionist culture.
Right? That's how they seal the truce with the dwarves, by pinky promise.
It's a very sacred practice, okay? You guys laugh, but it's a big deal to them. But yeah, in all seriousness though, Kieran will nod at that and say, "Absolutely, Gideon, if that's all that you require of me, I think I can do my best to uphold that promise.
I'm happy to hear it.
And not just him. I strive to meet the expectations of you and Oran as well. Just don't set your expectations too high.
Worry not, Kieran. In most ways, you have met them.
But now, if they have any questions, I am an open book. So feel free to ask at any time anything that you want to know. I owe you all that, at least.
I do have a few, if you have the time.
Certainly. Are these like actual questions you're going to ask, or is this like hypothetical? Now he asks question? Okay.
No, yeah.
Oh boy.
So you mentioned that you've heard Multhune was attacked by the Legion?
I mean, I don't know if they've been attacked, but when we were back at Fort Travale, we ascended the tower before we fought the dragon. We spoke with a cougar and her pet cat, and she had a map in her office, a map of the movements of the Legion, and on there was evidence that they potentially will be expanding towards Multhune. So I do not know if they have progressed in that direction yet, if they're focused on taking out Nirmathos first and then pushing south. But I didn't need to know. All I knew is that if that's the direction they're heading, then I will do everything in my power to stop them.
Yes, in that way it's advantageous for you as well, to protect your own homelands.
And don't get me wrong, the time I've spent in Nirmathos, I do care about these people. So it's not just for the sake of Multhune that I'm doing this, but I have family there that I still care very much about. And I will give my life before any of the Legion step foot in that place again. You see, Multhune has a very tenuous history with hobgoblins. I'm not sure if you're aware, but at one time they were able to serve in the military as mercenaries.
I was aware of the decree, yes.
And I have a feeling that it may have been hobgoblins who could have had a hand in my brother's death. It was never said as much, but his regiment did work a lot with the mercenaries, so it's always been at the back of my mind. And then when the Legion broke off, that caused a lot of strife in Multhune. So I think I need to do whatever I can to put the Legion down.
Can I bore you with a political discourse?
Like I said, I'm in your debt, Gideon, so whatever you would like to do, I'm here for it. Just let me get another pastry first.
And he slides the one you gave him over.
Are you sure? It's very good. Maybe just half. He'll tear half off, and then he'll sit back to listen.
I have spent only some time in Nirmathos, and Jessup stands out as unique to me. I'm not sure that the common sentiment among the Nirmathi people will ever lead to, well, a nation of their own, let alone peace. I currently see as this endless war between your countries with no clear line of ceasefire. What are the political ideations within Multhune? Are there those that seek to stop the expansion of the Empire?
If there are, they probably don't even speak up at this point, because there would be repercussions. Most of the vocal majority is in favor of assimilating Nirmathos back into Multhune. What I fear, though, is the fact that Nirmathos broke off in the first place. What's to keep them from breaking off again from each other and causing civil war? It's for the very reason they don't have a good leader. And that's by design, and I don't necessarily fault them for that, but I fear that that could also lead to bad decisions and civil war, potentially. So while I don't condone what Multhune is trying to do, I think that the current political structure in Nirmathos is not sustainable.
Do you have any faith in this Wesleyan Garvik that I've heard of, the Forest Marshal? Apparently, I've heard Nirmathos is more united than they used to be. Do you think he has the conviction to change the heart of the Nirmathi people to leadership?
I think it's worth a shot, if nothing else. he seems to have ambition, and he seems to have a good head on his shoulders, so if he is able to set out and do what I think he is trying to do, if he can rally the people behind him, then I think they will be okay, but it remains to be seen if he will be successful or not. As you can tell from your travels through Nirathos, they're very independent, very proud. I give them credit for that, but again, each virtue can also be a vice.
As I'm sure you're aware, myself included, virtues can become vice. Should terrible events work in our favor, do you think that if Malthun were unfortunately attacked by the Legion as well, that they would ever stand alongside Nirmathi in a joint effort to defeat the Legion, or do you think that that's not a possibility?
I would say at this point, right now, with the leadership of Malthun, I think they would be too proud to stand beside Nirmathos against the Legion. Malthun places great weight in the military strength. We were trained that we were the greatest military force in all of Galarian, and that no one could stand against us. I tell you, some of the things I've grown up learning is, looking back, is quite ludicrous, but
Yeah, the atheists in the south, I think they've got quite an army.
I won't deny that we do have a very good military. Certainly not suited to fighting the guerrilla wars of Nirmathos, but as strict regiments, we are very organized and very efficient. So I've often thought of what would happen if we came head-to-head with the Legion, and in traditional warfare, I think we would be fine, but they can sprout up these towers in the middle of cities, and wherever they want, they have the advantage of mobility, and I think that would be our downfall. So I think that while Malthun would try to fight on their own, I think ultimately they would fall.
Plus, more confusing to me, we still don't know the size or strength of the Legion's army, only their advances. Numbers are beyond our intel.
Yes, so that is some of the concern that weighs on me each day that we continue. And that's why I think we need to continue with this quest, and hopefully we can figure out where we go from here, because it's only going to get worse, and the longer we tarry, the longer they have to build up their strength.
The siege here, they've agreed to a ceasefire, but do you think that Malthun will call off their advances into Kraggodan?
I would like to think so. I don't know all of what goes through the head of Teldas, but knowing some of the character within the upper leadership of Malthun, I would think that if they come to terms of a ceasefire, they will abide by the terms of the ceasefire. That is one thing that Malthun prides itself on, is honor and keeping promises. He kind of says that sheepishly, looking down at his coffee.
I have a request of you, actually. You know that I serve Milani and that I hope for freedom, but my strengths lie mostly in battle. Somewhat well-spoken, but not nearly enough. And never have I been cunning. I want our advances as a party, as a group, to not only benefit Nirmathos but Malthun as well. I would love if our actions throughout this war, this defense, were to somehow result in either unity or peace. I like to believe I support the independence of Nirmathos, but to be honest, I think just rule and peace are noble pursuits, and although Marquin Teldas does not have my support, perhaps someone would. Just keep that in mind. If there's anything you can do on your side, or if you ever think of a way to spin the truth a little to advance a political agenda, I would not be closed off to that idea.
Well, I have never thought of myself as one for politics, but I've often thought of what comes next if we are successful against the Legion. What do we do next? And I'm not sure I will be of much help, but I will do what I can.
Well, the way I see the end of this shaking out, even if Nearmythos defeats the Legion, they'll be battered and broken. Surely Malthun could take that opportunity. That's my biggest fear at the moment.
Yes, I can understand that feeling and that fear, and I think for right now we have to put that aside and deal with what's currently in front of us. Because if I think too much about the future and what might come, it's a bit overwhelming. So I'm trying to stay on task with the immediate issue, and then we'll deal with those other issues should we survive this.
I respect that. And I agree. You have to focus on what's in front of you. But I think I'm going to begin trying to think, tackling both at once.
Kieran will smile. Well, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
I will. You have my confidence and my trust.
I appreciate that, Gideon. I know for all the joking that we do with you, you are an honorable man. I have seen that. And although you may be a bit more zealous than I in your devotion, I do have respect for your commitment to follow a cause.
I'll be honest, it does help. Milani has less followers, so it's easier to feel closer. He takes a bite of the pastry. Thank you. And, the scene can fade from there.
It fades with Kieran shoving a pastry in his mouth.
So, I will say that I am worried about one thing. It seems like there's been a lot of cathartic moments in Kraggodan between books, and I'm afraid that there won't be as many childish fights moving forward.
Oh, we'll still find reasons.
Oh, don't worry about that too much.
We'll bicker. Come on.
I look forward to people getting angry over small things.
It is fun. My favorite conflict of the whole thing, 1 of 2, it's got to be when Nayari just tore into Oran. That was great. Love that.
Yeah, of all the times to roll a natural 20 on a combat maneuver and throw him into the wall, I was like, that is not what I meant to do at all.
The best thing ever. Either that, or I really did like one of our more recent ones, the conflict between law and chaos and money. Thought that one was really good. Just perfectly petty.
Yeah. Common denominator is Sarah is always involved, so
that
says something about me.
Well, all of you, again, you spend the rest of your days, 2 weeks, maybe more, depending on how things go, quite some time in Kraggodan, buying items, preparing yourselves, upgrading your gear, maybe doing some research with Carburton and all that stuff. But after that period of time ends, maybe 2 or so weeks, Carburton summons you all to his home. His message that he sends to you mentions a particularly complicated matter which he would prefer to discuss in person and in private. And upon arrival, as I assume none of you ignore the summons, you find him in his home, seated near a wide hearth, with open seats for each of you, and finely crafted chalices filled with wine and ale or whatever other beverages you'd like placed near each of the seats. And once each of you come in and you do your greetings and you're all seated around this hearth, he clears his throat deeply, and it's a gesture that you've come to learn is a sign that he has a great deal to say, and it is unknown how long it will take for him to say it. So you all prepare yourselves for a long lecture as he rubs his beard and begins to speak. He says,
I wish I could offer you better tidings, but I must be forthright. While Prince Gorm has dispatched some material aid to your allies in Longshadow, Kraggodan does not have the luxury of providing direct military assistance at this time. With the siege still in place, albeit loosened considerably in preparation for a ceasefire, our manpower is tied up. We cannot jeopardize our homeland by sending our small defensive forces on a potentially long-term offensive mission. Of course, that does not mean we are unwilling to help. I have actually completed my research on the Onyx Key, the artifact stolen from our vaults, and it is indeed the weapon your enemies now use to move their troops. As you may know for yourselves already, the device creates a network of extra-dimensional tunnels. It's a fascinating process, truly. My ancestors suspected the artifact relies on some great power source or hub positioned outside the material plane, and they once opened a gate to it using a red sardonyx shard from the artifact's base. But in the process, they unleashed terrible monsters that ravaged our city. I believe the Iron Fang Legion has succeeded where my ancestors failed, conquered this hub, and now uses it as a central stronghold from which they direct their invasion. I've been trying to locate this sardonyx shard so you too can open a gate to the hub, and to my astonishment, my most recent divination successfully located it. I last found it deep within the heart of the Fangwood Forest, but soon thereafter a powerful magic began shielding it from my spells, and there can only be one culprit: the Blight. Surely you know the legends of the Fangwood's diseased heart, tales of a cruel, corrupted Fae and trees that shift and trails that change once travelers pass. This is all the work of the Blight, or more precisely the Dark Blight, which is both a disease and a place, the realm of a corrupted Fae ruler called Arlantia. But it was not always this way. More than 700 years ago, magma spewed from Droskar's crag and decimated the dwarven enclaves of the Five Kings Mountains. Though this devastating event known as the Rending did not reach Kraggodan, my noble ancestors still suffered from deeply scarred spirits. Fearing an imminent eruption, they sought insight. Would another explosion come to destroy them too? Dwarven legend told of a powerful earth goddess, a Gleistig named Genduin, who dwelled deep within the nearby Fangwood and ruled over a community called the Acresial Court. Of course, goddess is something of an honorific. She was powerful, but hardly divine, I think at least. Regardless, despite desperate for any support, Kraggodan sent emissaries into the forest to contact this earth goddess and beseech her aid. Most remaining records of this expedition are journals. It seems they traveled through the Fangwood. They took care to remember they were guests in an alien, verdant world. They recompensed any Fae they inconvenienced. They hunted game only when needed to survive. And they even protected a dryad grove from interloping loggers. Finally, they reached the regal Genduin's court. Falling prostrate before her, they honored her wisdom and asked a single question. Would the earth again erupt and send them all to Torag's side? My interpretation is that the emissary's thoughtfulness and respect touched Genduin deeply. She apparently offered each of them a comforting embrace before communing with the earth. She happily reported that the Mindspin Mountains had no inclination towards eruption. She also brokered a true alliance with Kraggodan. After consulting with her Fae courtiers, she crafted a powerful golden artifact named Dryad's Song, a goldenrod that could call the Fae of the Fangwood to the bearer's aid. She gave it as a gift, with her assurance that so long as she held dominion over the Fangwood, they were welcome to visit. And records suggest they took her up on that offer several times in the ensuing decades. However, 80 years later, Kraggodan lost all contact with Genduin. Confused and concerned, they sent a delegation into the forest equipped with Dryad's Song, but the delegation never returned and the artifact was lost. They then sent a fully armed war party into the forest, which too never returned. They sent another, which also vanished, but this time a single dwarven survivor returned, infected with virulent fungal diseases and carrying a brief message. Genduin and the Fangwood belong to Arlantia, the princess of the blasted heath. To defy her is to invite death. All subsequent dwarven rescuers met only slaughter, and the dark blight continued to spread. Heartbroken, my ancestors conceded that Genduin was lost. They created runestones, great monoliths studded with gold and gems, to channel power, ritual magic, that kept the dark blight at bay. Unfortunately, in recent years we have noticed the dark blight spreading once more, to our growing alarm. Until now, however, the knowledge of Genduin and the Ecclesial Court had faded from our collective memory. Now that we have reclaimed this knowledge, due in no short measure to your recent actions, much of the missing information has resurfaced. It was actually located in the very library of the reliquary that you cleared out. Once it was made safe, it revealed much of this to me.
Carberton clears his throat once more, a sign that you have learned to indicate one of two things. Either his lecture is soon to end, or about to take a new direction. He continues,
The Sardonic Shard is somewhere within this cursed realm. I don't know why, precisely. And it is cloaked by the region's powerful corruption. But if you are willing to brave this terrible place, then this may be a blessing in disguise. As I have said already, we lack the military resources to muster an offensive force, but this Genduin, should she still live, and I believe her to be too powerful in existence to have simply been slain, and this Arlanta too vain to have killed her, she and her Fey constituents could prove powerful allies against the Iron Fang Legion, and I suspect she would honor my ancestors' alliance should she be rescued. It seems Orlantia was a dryad once, and so she must be bound to a tree somewhere in that foul forest. Your Sardonic Shard and Genduin are both likely held there, if you can find them. Now, friends, I've spoken at length here, but I'm sure you have many questions, and I will do my best to answer them.
He then sits back in his chair a bit, and his face is obviously suggesting that he expects like a litany of inquiries. And he just kind of sits there silently.
We all say nothing.
Yeah, Kieran's kind of like wide-eyed, like, okay then. Because I don't think he really knows much about the Blight.
No, Oran met the tree. Did Oran meet the tree?
Well, Kieran, we all met the tree.
No.
Oran did not
Oran
meet the
did
tree.
not meet the tree. He's the only one
Oran
that didn't meet
did
the tree.
not. Jessup did. Gideon did not. So just Jessup and...
Oh, that was Aiden? Oh.
Yeah.
I think
that was a while back.
Actually, was Kieran even there?
Yeah.
Kieran must have been there. That was book 2. So yeah, that was Kieran.
Yeah.
Kieran
was
and
Kieran.
Jessup have met. Longfrond, the treant, yes.
Ooh, do you think, is Longfrond that dryad in disguise?
No.
Oh,
No, probably not.
wait, is that the GM talking, scoffing at me, or is that...
That is the GM scoffing at you.
Okay, alright, just double checking. Unclear, got it. No, that's a definitive no.
So I guess Kieran would say, so what you're saying is we need to find this Sardonic Shard to go to the hub, because that's where presumably all of the Iron Fang Legion troops are coming from. So they're in this hub. They use these shards to just pop up towers places, and that's how they funnel through so quickly?
Precisely, yes. As I've said, my ancestors and no dwarf have actually, who are still alive and didn't perish in the attack, none of us have been through the gateway with the Sardonic Shard, but it indicates from our records that it goes to some central hub that connects all the towers, and the shard is literally the key to their front gates, so to speak. They're winning the war mostly because they can appear anywhere through those black towers that they can grow, and they can retreat back into them. And you cannot reach them without the Sardonic Shard in your control. But if you had it, then you could hit them in their home base, so to speak.
So, to assault the Legion at their home base, we have to go into the Fangwood to find the old Dryad allied to Kraggodan, free her, defeat the blight or whatever and find the key?
The Dryad is actually Arlantia, who has usurped Genduin. Genduin was not a Dryad.
Okay, so we killed the Dryad. That's right, and helped the other one.
Perhaps, yes. Okay. She seems to be fairly hostile from what I can read from the records, yes.
So this blight, is that caused by this Dryad and the Sardonyx shard, or is that something completely different and unrelated?
The blight has nothing to do with the Sardonyx shard, but it would appear that it does have something to do with Arlantia. I'm not keenly aware on what the Dark Blight is exactly, but...
And he fixes you with a serious stare. He says,
I won't lie, the terrible nature of the Dark Blight almost defies words. The single dwarf who returned from Kraggodan alive from those depths described a place of horror, nightmares, and rot before dying of an excruciatingly painful death. It is said that the blighted depths corrupts the living bodies of fey and careless travelers, and they grow into sickly tree trunks, and mushrooms and fungus grow that spew spores and gnaw your brain. Hideous, maddening laughter echoes from every direction, it's said. Magic often malfunctions or doesn't work at all, hence my divinations being blocked. The blighted forest will test your very soul, and I believe that you, my friends, might be the only ones strong enough to fight it.
Oh, the more I hear about this, the more it seems like a suicide mission.
For many a dwarf it has been.
I mean, Kieran, for everything we've been through, what has not been a suicide mission?
Right, but I'm thinking long term, going to this hub. We have no idea what's there. We have no idea the numbers. We have no idea what we'd face. It just doesn't seem like something that we can come back from.
Oh yeah, we just get, we hope that Malthun can maybe come to the senses, and they can help us join the fray, and I can go back to Cobb and have him recruit probably like the 10 ranges we got left, and no problem.
I'm sure the dwarves would lend forces for something like that. I mean, that's a precious relic of our people.
Of course, yeah. I imagine that it would be easy to convince the rest of the Synod if you were to recover the Sardonyx shard and muster your forces into some sort of alliance and march against the Legion, knowing where you're going. Even if you don't know their forces or their numbers, I am sure that Kraggodan would be able to muster its forces for such a cause, and I imagine that by that time perhaps the situation with the siege will have loosened even further, and it is, as you have surmised, I imagine, it is likely that the reason our estimates of the Legion's numbers are so out of whack is because they're likely hiding their entire army in this hub area.
Is there any way to just, with the key, just turn off the hub? Like lock the door and then they can't get out and then it is what it is? That'd be cool.
That is certainly something worth considering, but it is hard to say. I know that the shard can open a path to the hub, and I believe the shard can even redirect towers to different towers, and that's what allows them to hop from one place to the next. I don't know if it's possible to completely shut down all of the passages, but perhaps, though that would leave all of the Legion there with any prisoners that they might have taken. But that might be a sacrifice that we need to make depending on how strong their forces are.
Well, we did a surprise attack on the cow on the hill and that worked.
Cow on the hill.
So Kieran just has this like really sad look on his face, and he says, "We finally got to a city with amenities, and now you're telling me we have to go back out to the forest. This blight sure doesn't sound like fun, so..."
No. And again, I apologize that my tidings couldn't be more uplifting. And it was a surprise to me as well that the shard would be in the Fangwood of all places. I've only one idea of why it might be there, and it might be that the Legion is seeking its own allies, in which case there's even more reason to disrupt things there. should the Legion get Orlantia on their side in the Dark Blight, that I think we would have a much bigger issue than just losing Morthune and Nirmathos to their expanse.
Yeah, the Blight right now is at least confined to the Forest. Can you imagine if they were able to open portals for the Blight to just transfer all around?
It would be catastrophic, to say the least.
That was a slightly rhetorical question. Thank you.
I think back to the Fae that we dealt with at that one fort, and
to think grubs. Don't forget those.
Yeah, to think of blighted Fae just sounds immensely worse. So,
do you know if there's anybody in the city that knows anything about the Blight or studied it at all? Any kind of insight?
I believe I am the foremost expert on the Blight, to be honest. What I can tell you beyond what I've already said is it is a disease and a curse. It is contagious. So if you were to come across any blighted plants, steer clear as much as you can. The bright side is that while Fae are quite vulnerable to the Blight, mortals seem a little bit more difficult to infect. Dwarves, humans, and the like seem to catch it only directly from the trees, rather than simply, mingling in its area. So you should be safe, even though you are in the blighted forest, as long as you maintain distance from some of the more affected area.
Don't touch anything.
Yes, do your best not to touch anything with strange movement to it. Otherwise, as long as you are not there for an extended period of time, you should be all right. Rumors say that the Fae lash their victims to the infected trees for days at a time to infect them. So, I guess I would say try not to be captured.
So step back a second or two there. You said we should be okay. Will we be okay? Or should we, from a hypothetical standpoint, not 100% be okay?
Well, it depends on how easily you are able to maintain your distance from heavily blighted areas, and how long you end up staying. If you're there for maybe a week, it probably won't be that bad, but if you're there for months at a time, then you're probably going to be hard-pressed to avoid contracting the Dark Blight yourselves.
Jessup looks at the party. Show of hands of those who assume that the shot is in the most heavily blighted area. Raise your hand. Just
raises his hand to humor him.
Yes, at that point I would suggest a very quick in and out, if possible. I imagine that that's easier said than done. I understand that.
With the groups that had gone there, do you have any maps or anything you could provide of the area, or any details like that, or are we going in blind?
Well, I have no maps, but I do have the next best thing. I spoke of the runestone, that the many runestones that the dwarves had erected to keep the blight at bay. Well, it is possible that I could devise a ritual that, should you make it to these runestones and complete this ritual there, and then maybe chip off a piece of the runestone itself, it would be imbued with a connection to the aura of the sardonic shard that I picked up from my divinations, and would be able to lead you in a path towards it. Eventually, the Dark Blight would eat away at the connection, so it might not take you all the way to the shard, but it would lead you to the general area at least.
That's better than nothing. So, sounds like our next move is to head back into the forest and try and find one of these runestones.
Indeed. And I'm sure as experienced adventurers yourselves, you're well aware, but I would just caution that you likely know the enemies you'll be facing. The natural surroundings is one, but you will likely be facing many corrupted plants and corrupted fae, so I would prepare accordingly.
Kieran thinks about that skill point he just put into knowledge planes and wishes that he had put it into knowledge nature instead. Oops. Oopsies.
We'll stay here another week and we'll retrain.
Yeah, right.
One thing I will say, you guys can all roll a knowledge religion if you'd like. I'll allow a knowledge planes if you want to.
Yeah, nat 20. Nailed it.
I don't have religion, but I have a +5 in planes, 16.
I will aid Gideon in religion. I have a 13, so that is an auto pass.
That's a perception
That's
roll.
perception. That's perception.
That's
Gideon,
perception
you
roll.
see into the future.
There we are.
All right.
Still good.
So we got a 27 religion, a 34 religion, and 16 knowledge plane. So
36 religion, if it makes a difference.
Oh, yes, because you were aiding. Yes. So Oran and Gideon and Jessup, who aided your religion checks, do learn one bit of information. And if you were to announce this as a question or a revelation, Carper would actually verify it. In his long spiel, he talked about the message that the dwarf had brought back, the one surviving dwarf. It had said, Genduin and the Fangwood belong to Erlantia, the princess of the Blasted Heath. To defy her is to invite death. The Blasted Heath sticks out to you, those of you who know about religion. There is a particular demon lord named Sith Visug, who is known as Prince of the Blasted Heath. And if anyone in this conversation brought up Sith Visug, that would actually bring up a memory to Kieran and Jessup. In Book 2, after you had defeated Ibziriak, there was a corner of his area that had a sort of like a makeshift altar, almost, and you saw the symbol of Sith Visug. It was almost like a recreation of the symbol. It wasn't the symbol exactly, but it was similar to the symbol of Sith Visug. And you do know that Ibziriak was heading north into the Fangwood, so it's likely that Ibziriak had some dealings with the Blight.
Oh, and wasn't Ibzariak trying to court his creepy lady friend?
Yeah, I was going to say, so does that mean that we're going to have to fight another dragon? Kieran's like, yeah!
What was the name of the dragon again?
You know that he had been infatuated with a dragon named Nefexi. And it was Nefexi who was asking him to bring, like, weird plants and fungi, and that's why he was with the druid hobgoblin. She was, like, cultivating stuff for him to take over his gifts.
That had the poison spores or whatever in her little shack.
Yeah, so she had like a book. Was there anything in that gave us more information about what's going on now that we kind of have some insight?
She had a notebook that she had. So she didn't know much about what Ibziriak was doing. She knew that he was courting some dragon named Nefexi, and he had continually made requests of her for unique and rare herbs. She never really questioned too much, but she kind of humored him because the task of cultivating these herbs was kind of cathartic for her druid sensibilities. So you don't, like, she didn't have any details about Nefexi, really, just like a third-party observation of Ibziriak's obsession with her. But yeah, the Blasted Heath definitely sticks out to you as indicative of the Demon Lord Sith Visug.
And what's he Demon Lord of?
So he was originally a Clippeth Lord, and he is older than any of the demons now residing in the Abyss. His areas of concern are disease, fungus, and parasites. His domains are chaos, earth, evil, plant, with subdomains of caves, decay, demon growth, plague. Favorite weapon is a scimitar, and he is chaotic evil.
So we have a crazy devotee of the Zug dude who's trying to plague the world. Got it.
Yep, he is described as a misshapen and monstrous being the size of a house. His body is made of a horrid mass of tubers, fungus, and rot, shot through with grasping tentacles and claws.
You mentioned that he's the demon thing of parasites, and Kieran thinks back to the rot grubs and just like shudders.
Yeah, and you'll recall that the pixie that you guys fought was a blighted pixie.
Well, I'm glad I picked up Abyssal.
Oh boy, I'm not looking forward to this. Sarah is very nervous about this.
I will also allow people who wish to make a knowledge nature check.
Jessup will, and he will get a 34.
With a 34, you have no idea what a Gleistig is.
I thought long and hard. I have no idea what that is.
Carper kind of nods. He says,
Yes, I'm only
vaguely aware of it. I know that a Gleistig is a fae of some mythic power, but beyond that, I don't know. Well, any other questions you have? Surely there must be many more questions.
I think I just need time to process it a little bit more before, maybe we'll have more questions. It's a lot to take in and to think about, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of quit the detour there. Legion, and then the Docklands, and then now the Blight. We always knew to try to stay away from it when we were in the forest, but now I'm just diving straight into it.
Well then, if there are no further questions, we can move on to the next steps. As you now know, the Dark Blight twists and warps the natural terrain, making it nearly impossible to traverse without getting trapped forever. And as I've already mentioned, I might have a solution to get you past that. Unfortunately, areas overtaken by the Dark Blight become infused with the foul energy that confuses divination magic, so I will not be able to follow you from afar with my divination to make sure that you are all right, but as I said, I can at least overcome part of this issue for you with the Great Runestones. I have the ritual to link the aura with the Sardonic Shard, and he actually gets up and hands Kieran like a stack of papers, little notes, and he says, "Here are the notes for the ritual, and a map to the nearest runestone. The entire process should be simple, no more than an hour's time, I should think. And as I said, once complete, just chip off a piece of the runestone, and it should guide you most of the way to the Sardonic Shard. Again, it will be eaten away, the connection eventually, but you'll feel a gentle tug in the direction you need to go. And once you are in the area, you will then be able to find things for yourselves. You'll be close enough to look for a tree that might indicate where the Dryad is bound. But it will take you at least as far as an area known as the Blighted Depths, which I understand is a frightening term for a place to be going to, but that is where you will be headed. And that is all that I have to say. So, again, prepare yourselves if you do indeed decide to embark on this quest. And I will answer any questions that you might have in the ensuing days before your departure. Again, should you choose to leave.
Well, it's much appreciated, Carburton. You've done us a great favor and provided us with a lot of information that we probably wouldn't have been able to find out on our own, so you have my thanks for that, whatever happens.
Of course, I'm more than happy to help. You've certainly helped myself and Kraggodan plenty.
So I guess from this point, it's just we have to prepare and then go.
All right. So, yeah, as I said, the specific stuff that you prepare, like you have all the information you have now to like choose out what you need to prepare for your journey, and we can handle that between sessions. What is your plan for getting to this runestone? You have a map of where it is, but it is several miles into the Fangwood, which is like 80 miles from Kraggodan, so I imagine like you're going to have Kieran teleport you. Where are you teleporting to start your journey?
Do we know, are any of the ranger forts? I guess Trevalet, is that the closest?
Do a knowledge geography to try to parse out where Trevalet would be on the map that you were given.
Along that, quick question. Do we think that this location would be a prominent enough place to qualify for Find the Path?
So Find the Path probably wouldn't work because it's a divination spell, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Dark Blight, the corrupting nature of the Dark Blight pretty much negates divinations entirely.
Gotcha. So then how was he able to get just a brief insight?
So he was able to use divination to find the Sardonic Shard while it was on the way to the Dark Blight. It was in the Fangwood, not yet in the Dark Blight, but then future divinations failed. They were cut off, and that is why he is aware of the fact that it has reached the Dark Blight and he can no longer see it.
So Jason, if I look at from book 2 the map of the Turnasardo that's got the 3 forts on there, which is the one with the big tower? Is that Trevalet?
Trevalet is the one with the dragon in it, so yes, that had the tower that you were in and fought the dragon.
Okay, so this has all the... Well, there's another one that looks like it has a tower, but...
So that map, the forts, I mean, Fort Nunder kind of looks like what it could be, but the forts aren't super indicative of what they actually were. But basically, the northernmost one was Travale, the westernmost one was Fort Nunder, and the easternmost one was Fort Riston.
Riston? Okay.
Which
So,
is
like-
Jessup's stomping ground.
Yes.
Yeah, so I feel like
it's got to. I mean, Travale has to be the one that's closest to the blight.
yeah, either that or like Josh said Mist Home, but I don't know if Mist Home is in the Fangwood in the opposite direction. And if
Mistron is
Travale,
somewhat south of Riston.
yeah, so I don't know if that would be close enough. I feel like Travale is probably the closest, but I don't have Jessup, I don't know if you have knowledge geography and could roll.
Do I have knowledge geography? Yeah, I guess I'll give it a whirl. Now, would I roll once, Jason, just to pinpoint where Travale is, or can I use the one roll to kind of map out where I think all the towers are?
I would say once you know where Travale is, you'd be able to get your bearings.
All right, well, I'm going to gamble it, and I'll just take my other nat 20 for the day for a 33.
Okay. Yeah, you are able to determine pretty accurately where all of the landmarks in this map are, because you are keenly aware of the Ranger Forts and Fangwood. Fort Travale is very much the closest location. It looks like if you're traveling through the Fangwood, it might take maybe a day of travel from the Fort Travale to the Runestone, maybe slightly less. You might be able to make it in one day, but it's several miles. And with magical aid, making your way there, like you could find the path before you're in the Blight, you could shorten the distance quite considerably. So, but yeah, Fort Travale would be the closest known location.
Do we know where the tree that we talked to was?
Long Frond, I believe,
She was near Travale, I think.
She was closer, I think, to Misthome. I think you met her before going to any of the forts.
That's why I brought up Mist Home, because maybe talking to them.
Didn't she go upwards toward Travale because we could have asked her to help us to figure out to save the other people that ate the infected deer?
Yeah, she moves around. So she kind of, like, all of that area, she just kind of goes where she wants. She's not set in one location. So yeah, she was at Travale for a time, and you were talking to her, and then...
Gotcha. So she might just show up. We can't seek her out so much.
I mean, you could seek her out, because, like, the Rangers probably have maintained some contact with her, so they probably know where she is, but, like, she might not be near Travale. You don't know.
We gotta recruit Herge. I like Herge.
I like Herge. We should talk to him.
So, is the plan to teleport to Travale, Misthome? Which one are you thinking?
I would say Travale. That would probably be my vote.
I would say there as well. Mist Home, there's probably not even much left. I'm not sure they completely abandoned that holdout, but they might have, because the Iron Fang Legion in Phaendar, they had found it, so...
Yeah, you know that it had been converted into less of a refuge and more of, like, the occasional ranger redoubt.
That's what I was thinking it would be.
So it's kind of like, you know, that in the beginning of the campaign, that one cabin you guys went to where the ettercap and spiders were around, and that was like a small ranger recluse. That's kind of what Mist Home's been turned into. There's a couple people that still maintain it, but they don't have, like, a bunch of refugees hiding there.
Okay, so once we finish our shopping, bid our farewells to the Synod and the bathhouse, then we'll teleport out and just keep your fingers crossed that I don't roll a stupid number.
Yeah, I would say Fort Travale
is basically my home, so should
So-
be.
Yeah.
I don't think I would call it very familiar, but I would say studied carefully is pretty close because you were there for a while. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd say studied carefully. There's only a 6% chance that something bad happens.
The nice thing is that I have, unlike before when I teleported and I only had one spell slot, I have 4 chances to get this right, so...
Or 4 chances to mess up.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go. 1d100. 53.
53. So for studied carefully, 53 would be on target. So you appear where you want to be. So would you be teleporting into, like, the courtyard of Travale or into the tower somewhere?
I think probably I would teleport us to the top of the tower just so that we don't, like, freak out a bunch of people who might be, like, doing stuff in the courtyard. I'd try to teleport us somewhere that might not have, like, a lot of traffic so that we can be like, hey, we're back, and not just like apparate out of thin air.
So like where you fought the dragon?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So after you guys conclude all of your business in Kraggodan, Kieran gathers you up and you teleport to the topmost tower of Fort Trevale. And you see that there is nobody in this level at the moment. It has been cleaned quite a bit. You remember that there was sort of a makeshift swamp that had been created here, and that has been taken down. It looks like whatever was perpetually creating all of that water has been taken someplace else for other means. But it looks more like just a under construction tower more so than a swamp. And you guys can go down the steps to the lower floor, and the floor right below this one is actually where the war room was. And if you were to make your way in the direction of that room, you would actually find that Cobb is in, and he's made that sort of his office. And he's actually present, and he would kind of look up and see you, and you'd see like distinct surprise on his face as he clearly contemplates how the heck you came down the stairs from the tower. And he's kind of dumbfounded for a minute before he kind of stands and greets you. And he says, welcome back, I guess. Where did you come from? What?
I learned a few tricks, so it's just magic.
Clearly, did you fly in through the opening?
No, we actually came from Kraggodan, believe it or not.
You
We
flew
didn't fly.
from Kraggodan? No,
we just teleported. Just instantly.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Just casual. Just we teleported. It's no
Yeah.
big deal.
It's pretty handy, honestly.
Gideon's eating out of a bag of pastries from the cafe that him and Kieran were at earlier.
All right. Well, welcome back, I guess, Jessup, Kieran. And I don't think he hasn't met Oran, has he?
No, but he knows Gideon. Ah, you remember Gideon here? Oh, and this is Oran.
Yes,
We picked
you
him
look
up.
very different, Gideon. I mean, I only met you briefly, but I don't recall you having rose petals all over the place. It's new.
He smells like him too.
Yeah, I'm catching that now, actually.
Yes, this is new. I have found increased favor with my goddess.
Congratulations, I guess.
Eats a pastry, just stuffs his face.
And who's the dwarf that you have? Is that a friend you made in Kraggodan?
Not quite in Kraggodan. He's a dwarf from Kraggodan. He's helped us a lot. This is Oran. Oran, this is Warden Ranger Cop.
Oh, Oran. I remember you. I remember you mentioning the name. I didn't have the pleasure to meet you, but I've heard some things about you, Oran. It's good to meet you now.
Hopefully all good things.
I've heard very much good things. Yes, very much.
Good.
Well, what brings you here? I mean, if you can teleport around, then is there some news that you need, or are you just trying to look up on how we've been?
Yeah, I mean, we're coming to check on you. Just say hello, and then we're just gonna charge up into Deep the Fangwood to take on the Blight. You know, normal ranger stuff.
His eyes go a bit wide again, and you can see like he goes a bit pale, and he's. I won't question you, Jessup, but I mean, you know the rumors about the Blight as well as I do. It's not the place that you'd want to be going, but.
Oh, trust me, I had to sit through an hour-long synopsis with another dwarf. I know.
Well, then I'm sure you have your reasons for needing to go there.
Well, basically, it's probably one of the only leads to be able to stop the Legion, so...
Well, if that's the case, then it's a good reason for sure. And he kind of ushers you and is like, please come in, have a seat around the table here. And as you guys enter the war room, you can see that there's maps all over the place, and there's notes and paper everywhere, and a lot of it, if you just like glance at some of these, there's a lot of stuff that's like managerial, like restructuring the Rangers, rebuilding things, all that sort of thing. And then there's a lot of stuff that's like intel, scouting reports, all that stuff, as well as the maps and whatnot. He says, we've been hard at work here, trying to rebuild the Rangers as much as we can, and I think things are looking pretty good. At this point, we've probably recovered any of the Rangers who had fled into the forest. I don't think we're going to be finding any more of them out there. But our forces have bolstered a fair bit. There's over 200 of us now. It's still a far cry of what we once were, but it's a good place to start our rebuilding efforts at the very least. I can give you a rundown of what we've learned if you'd like, or if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to make conversation with you. I don't know how urgent this business of yours in the Blight is, if you need to be on your way right now or not.
Jessup looks at the crew. Yeah, I think we're kind of in dire straits, but I wouldn't mind kind of hearing how things are going, ranger stuff.
Right, absolutely. Well, as I said, we've been rebuilding as much as we can. We're starting to shore up our strength bit by bit. Luckily, Multhoon's advances against us have suddenly gone quiet. They've, ceased all activity, it seems, and that's kind of freed up quite a bit of time for us. And that's been a good breather for us. The only bad news that I will have to bring up is, maybe I should just show you. And he pulls out a map, and he actually gives it to all of you. And there's a handout that I will make available to you, and then I will show it to all of you. It says, this here is our current scouting estimates of the Legion's expanse in Nirmathos. As you might notice, pretty much everything to the south of the Meredith is under Legion territory, with the exception of Kraggodan itself. For the time being, your efforts in Long Shadow have kept the Legion back. They haven't made any strong efforts to cross again, at least not that far up the river. But we are seeing some indication now of them moving even further south. Seems like they're cutting their losses in the Hollow Hills and redirecting their efforts to more easily take in territory, even breaching into Multhoon a bit, it looks like. And you can all see this map now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's where we're currently at. It's
not Buttermilk Creek. Oh no.
I know.
Kieran's face is pale. He's thinking of the siege on Kraggodan, and if that's lifted, how in the world are they going to get back?
So, just out of curiosity, are we just bolstering the Rangers, or are you setting out for attack parties and stuff?
We've still been bolstering at the moment. We've sent out scouting parties. That's why we have all this information so far. But we haven't dared to try to take any military efforts quite yet. We're pretty much at the brink of it. Like I said, I don't think we're going to be getting any more recruits or find any more of the survivors at this point. So we're pretty much at the point where we're going to start discussing future offenses.
At some point, when we come back from the Blight, because, we will, I think we're going to make a attack right on the Iron Fang League, and if everything goes right here, so I would just suggest if you can, my recommendation is try to bolster and not try to do anything too reckless, because we're going to need everyone able-bodied. Bunch of allies from Kraggodan and, some other places as well. We all got to band together.
Aye, well, the Rangers will be at your side for sure, and I'll make sure to take that under advisement, make sure that we don't make any reckless maneuvers while we're waiting for your return. The only thing that we'll have to consider is, we still don't know where they're basing out of. Their biggest fort seems to be in Phaendar now, but we don't really know where the rest of their forces are. That's something that we'll have to continue looking into while you're gone. Perhaps maybe we'll have that information by the time you get back.
Well, about that, we found out that similar to Phaendar, they have a magic relic from Kraggodan, dwarven relic, where they can just spawn towers. How we kind of teleported on top of the fort, they can open gigantic portals to just have armies pour through. So if they can sneak by, they can almost open a portal anywhere.
Right, well, I hadn't been stressed out enough.
That's good.
But now I think I am. I will make sure that all of the Rangers know to keep both eyes open at all times for any suspicious activity in the Fangwood, because we cannot allow them to spring up something like that in our midst.
I worry because we think that they were going up toward, deep in the Fangwood to do something with the Blight. If they somehow manage to erect a tower up there, they could easily flank all of Nemethos.
Goodness gracious, Jessup, you're just a fount of good news today, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm alive and well. I mean, that's good, right?
Well, yeah, I suppose that's true. So your efforts there in the Blight then are to make sure that their negotiations break down, or what's to get this artifact?
I guess we'll kind of wing it. Looks at the group, right? Kinda.
Little column A, little column B.
We're going to do our best, Cub.
I see. Well, I mean, I've known you to be reliable in the past, so, I mean, if there's anything that we can do to help you, then by all means ask away.
Do you know anything about the Blight? Or where we could learn more?
Only that it's something that we avoid to the best of our ability. We took efforts to specifically avoid it, so, I mean, none of the Rangers were suicidal enough to actually study it too deeply.
Did Oran know that Theros knew some stuff about the Blight? I
Yes,
can't remember if that ever came up with Theros.
I believe you were aware maybe vaguely of the fact that he had encountered a creature of the Blight before, because he had taken the campaign trait where he was like Blight touched or something.
Blight
touched, I believe was what it was called, and he got a free perception check whenever he was near an aberration or whatever corrupted fey creature. So he knew a little bit. And you know that he was actually headed off in the direction of the secret Dryad community, which only the Dryads know about, which is in the Fangwood. You don't know if it has been corrupted by the Blight or if they are staving it off in their own ways. And you don't really have any idea even where it is. None of the Rangers would know where it is.
But we do know that he and Theros' parents also, the three of them, went up there.
His father, his human father, was taken, I think, after the fact with his elf mother to head that direction.
Come on, there's got to be a spell that exists somewhere in the world where you can communicate to someone that you know of over vast distances.
Oh, there definitely is.
Yeah, there is.
Isn't it sending?
Sending,
It's
yeah.
called sending.
The question is, would the Blight
Interfere with sending.
Sending is
It's evocation. The school is evocation.
Sending is
Ooh.
evocation.
There
That's
you go.
right. That's right.
Yeah, we could contact Theros. Hey, bud, I need to know a little bit about the Blight.
Yeah, you could contact a particular creature with whom you are familiar and send a short message, 25 words or less. The subject recognizes you if it knows you. It can answer in a like manner. So you can send a 25-word message and receive a 25-word message.
Text Andrew right now.
Look, I need a guest appearance.
Hey, Andrew, what does Theros know about the Blight?
Blight.
25 words. Respond. Go.
Just saying, it's an option.
Yeah, if you wanted to do that, I don't remember what his voice was exactly, but...
it's very soft-spoken, if I
or
recall.
if you wanted, you could just ask him if he remembers anything after this much time has passed.
Let's add him in the group chat.
After 2 years ago.
Yeah, I doubt he would recall any specifics.
Let's find out.
Hey, bud, you remember anything from the campaign that you haven't been a part of for a year and a half? You remember anything about that? We need Blight information. I don't know, just a thought. Just a thought that I had was maybe we could reach out to them because they might know something. Because he was a druid, so he knows druid things.
We'll hear back next session.
But other than that, what would be your plan? Just take a hike from this point on?
Take a hike.
Because again, it's like a little less than a day, and if you used spells to help you, you'd get there pretty, within maybe half a day.
I think Gideon wants to spend a little bit of time here in Fort Chevalier just going over the battle plans and verifying some things. Like, he'd be curious what their intel has revealed as far as the garrison and Phaendar. I mean, obviously we know that they can kind of move pretty freely, but how many are stationed there and what's a number? Because we haven't been able to put any numbers on anything yet. So that's kind of on his mind. Verify that they haven't ventured, it looks like, into the forest yet at all. Their advancement lines seem to be picketed
right up into the edge of where the forest is.
Yeah, it seems anywhere that you guys had been putting up strong resistance, they kind of gave up on and focused elsewhere.
I noticed that. I'm particularly curious if he knows how in danger, like the Valley of Aloy and Ekru, is that what that is?
Yeah, Ekru, you were there, if you recall.
Uh-huh.
Ekru is the town that you set off that nuclear bomb, basically, in. Do you recall that? So Ekru is pretty much destroyed. There's, like, not anybody there. There was never... People weren't living there beforehand because it had been taken over anyways, so...
So this map, they don't hold control of there, but we know that they have access to the whole south of the Meredith.
Yeah.
That's not great. This is like most of the nation.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the nation, yeah.
Normathus is gone. It's gone. It's all just gone. I can't even say it properly because it's gone.
To be fair, it's not like it was fully, densely populated. There was a lot of in between some of the towns, but yeah, it's a lot of land.
Not Gillet.
Yep, Gillet's gone.
No.
So yeah, you could spend some time in Fort Trevally getting the lay of things.
Not too much, and he'll give some basic advice. Maybe roll a knowledge or rank soldier or whatever, just kind of giving his opinion on how the current operations are and bolstering different sections and improving supply lines, things like that.
Explaining why he smells like roses.
Yeah, just he doesn't make a big deal about it. He
doesn't make a big deal. He's just like, listen, I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like yeah,
kind of a big deal.
It's a little important.
Yeah, I think if the group's good with it, I would say to just stay another day, just for Jessup to talk through ranger stuff. Just make sure they're in a good spot and everything, and then head out if that's cool with the party.
Yeah, I mean you're basically the marshal, so like
that's Cab.
I
recruited him. He's higher ranking than me.
But he's higher ranked than you.
Yeah, with all of his efforts, he is now a 16th level aristocrat.
Oh, wow.
He has been given...
No, he's not really. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
The highest level NPC.
He might have gained like a level or two of probably expert would be the most clerical related of the NPC classes. So he's probably like a 6th level ranger, 2 level expert or something.
So, Jason, I do have a very important question, probably the most important. How are we looking on provision points at about this point? All right, like,
Don't
how
bring
many
that
provision
back.
points do we have?
You hush. That's a time of the past that we don't need to revisit.
We don't need to talk about the
We
dark
have enough
time.
money that Kieran can teleport in food if we need to.
I just want to know how many provision points we have. How many PP points we got?
You can create feasts now that last for days. Magically.
I would say, I wonder how much time. So you guys left, book 2 ended on day 59, and you're currently probably on day like 140.
Wow.
You've got 482 provision points.
For context, that's really like less than 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it hasn't even been 6 months. It's been, according to my notes, again, like you're on like day 140, so you're like a third of a year.
Yeah.
Not even.
That is harrowing that all that has happened in like 4 months.
It has been a
over 4 months.
lightning advance from the Legion. Yeah, you've been doing quite a bit.
Yeah. I guess that march and conquest is very, very quick.
All right. So you guys spend a day and familiarize yourself, and then I guess the next morning or so, bright and early, you say your farewells, make sure you're all prepped, and make your way towards the runestone. And the 4 of you march into the Fangwood, following Carburton's map to this ancient dwarven monolith. It takes several hours to reach your destination, but with the help of the detailed map and Jessup's geography, it's not a very difficult journey. But suddenly, the gnarled trees of the Fangwood, you know that the Fangwood's a very dense forest, the gnarled trees part, and a lush green clearing stretches for 50 feet. In the center stands a 20-foot slab of blue stone, etched with blocky runes and inlaid with gold and gems. The cankers and blotches that mar so many of the local trees are absent from the foliage that borders this clearing, a testament of the strong abjuration magic that this obelisk radiates. Carburton's ritual, as he said, takes you little over an hour as you chant in Dwarven and burn some rare mineral incense. During this time, the clearing is almost eerily quiet, but the ritual proceeds smoothly. When you finish, you chip off a small portion of the runestone, and you can feel it in your hand tugging towards the heart of the forest. And as you progress forward, you travel for several more days deeper into the forest. The more you travel, the harder the travel becomes. And as you progress, you soon begin to see telltale indications of the dark blight. At first, you see trees covered in thick, rope-like slime. Then, recognizably humanoid bodies caught in a web of fungus and fused into nearby logs, followed shortly after by 6-foot-tall mushrooms with eye-like fungal growths covering their stalks. At one point, Jessup brushes up against a tree's trunk and feels it shudder, and as he looks towards it, a crack opens in the trunk to reveal a bloodshot yellow eye. At several points in time, you hear all ambient noise in the forest stop, save for a woman's laughter to echo through the trees for a short period, sending a chill down your spines before disappearing. This noise makes it particularly difficult to sleep at night. As you continue the following days, you encounter a small hillock with a deep, scrabbling mark carved into the soil, leading to an enormous tree. Most of the tree's bark has been stripped, and on the bare wood in Sylvan are the words, "Save us, she's killing us all," etched in and dripping with fresh blood. Later on, arranged neatly between some bushes, Gideon's high perception notices a pyramid of skulls with mushrooms blooming from their mouths and eyes. The skulls appear to be those of dryads. These horrid occurrences grow more frequent and more alarming as you continue on. And might be a little bit early, but I think that is where we're going to end the session this week.